Introduction to Cluster Heavy Cannon Killing Immortal Cultivators. Fake Chi Training Cultivators. Cast water and fire spells, wield flying swords from dozens of steps to defeat enemy heads. Wealthy ones also have a shield magical tool that is both offensive and defensive, equipped with a stack of high-level talismans, and top-notch top-quality magical tools that can only unleash one strike power, surpassing cultivators of the same level. A real Chi training cultivator. Driving a Type 99 main battle tank, equipped with a 125mm Divine Sense towed main gun, two 12.7mm Divine Sense corrected towed high and flat dual-purpose machine guns, hanging 9 various electromagnetic Divine Sense joint-towed missiles at the rear of the vehicle, and 4 reconnaissance drones, destroying enemies to ashes from 20 kilometers away. A more realistic Yuanying cultivator. A cluster of spacecrafts with a combat range of thousands of miles. Chapter 1. Rongcheng Jiangding. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Rongcheng, First High School, in the classroom. Name. Jiangding Chinese, out of 150. 109 Mathematics, out of 150. 70 Ideological and Moral Character, out of 150. 137 Comprehensive Theory, out of 300, Biology, Chemistry, Physics. 151, Comprehensive Literature, out of 100, History, Geography. 61 Bonus Elective, Cultivation, out of 300. Peak of Bone Refining Realm 50, Main Weapon Elective Course, out of 60. Heavy Machine Gun. 17 Cold Weapon Vice Weapon Elective Course, out of 40 points. Low-Level Swordsmanship. 3 Slashes of the Wind, 25 Actual Combat, out of 150 points. 23 Total Score. 643 The last row, a young man with a delicate appearance stared at the newly issued mock exam results for a long time. I can only score 534 out of a total score of 850 in my academic performance. The total bonus points for cultivation are 400 points, and I can only score 97 points, let alone actual combat points. No one can beat me, Jiangding sighed. Sigh. If this continues, not to mention getting into the cultivation department of Qianling University, I won't even be able to get into an ordinary third-tier university. Perhaps entering vocational high school earlier to learn a skill is the right path. Xianmen relies on spiritual veins from all over the world to build 30.9 universities. Most of the students in these universities are ordinary people, and only the 20-year cultivation program can impart knowledge of immortal cultivation, master extraordinary powers, and have the potential for longevity. And to be admitted to the cultivation department of universities in various regions, without considering spiritual roots, cultivation, or family background, even if you are the legitimate son of the Golden Core Immortal, it is useless. The only criterion is the college entrance examination score. Even if you don't have to worry about any cultivation or elective courses, even if you are a useless cultivator and martial arts practitioner, as long as your college entrance examination score reaches the score line of various university cultivation departments, you will definitely be admitted. On the contrary, if you are a heavenly spirit root and cannot achieve a score, no university's cultivation department will admit you, and you will not receive any resources and teachings from the Immortal sect. The Xianmen College Entrance Examination is the greatest fairness for students around the world. Of course, not many people in the entire history of the Immortal sect have been able to give up the 550-point cultivation bonus and ultimately be admitted to the university's cultivation department as a divine person. Tianlingen, as long as he is not a mentally disabled person, can easily achieve a cultivation bonus score close to full marks. After leading by nearly 550 points, he can easily be admitted to the cultivation department by studying cultural courses casually. However, apart from being admitted to the cultivation department, the practice bonus elective has no other function. Ordinary departments in universities only focus on academic performance. The pinnacle of bone refining realm. The desk mate said sourly, it's also very good. It can withstand 800 pounds, and in ancient times, wearing heavy armor is at least an enemy of 10,000 people. Li Juanhao has a short stature and is very thin, making his head appear large and somewhat comical. Put it now, it's just a matter of one submachine gun and one shot. Jiangding shook his head inside, changing the topic. Is your academic grade 690 or 698? Rongcheng No. 1 Middle School, known as the cradle of students in the cultivation department, apart from those with special ideological and moral skills, everyone else has 2 brushes. 701 points, Li Juanhao's sour taste is gone, he proudly said. More than 700 points. Jiangding was startled. This is not insignificant. Although cultural and cultivation are separated, the two are not opposed, but are interrelated and inseparable. Chinese language contains a large amount of basic knowledge and principles of talismans and martial arts. Students who can write a good article will have a deep understanding of talismans and martial arts when they embark on the path of cultivation in the future. Mathematics clearly includes the calculation and knowledge foundation related to formations, the physics, chemistry, biology of Li Zong, and the historical geography of Wen Zong are all closely related to the spiritual beasts, spiritual materials, refining tools, spiritual veins, and so on in the cultivation of immortals. However, cultivation is a discipline that closely combines theory and practice. Without becoming a cultivator, one cannot truly observe and practice what is taught in books without magical power and divine consciousness. Just like a eunuch drawing a spring palace diagram, everything is based on imagination, and the answer can only be derived through calculations such as the principles, formation structures, and magic operation diagrams in the book. Separated by a thick layer of cloth. No matter how smart a person is, there is a limit. Even if they have talent and are willing to work hard, under these conditions, an average person who can score 400 to 500 points is considered excellent. You can consider which university in the top 2 you want to attend, Jiangding said with jealousy. The top ordinary academic achievers only score over 600 points, which is already a seedling of Qingfeng University and Beidou University. There is a considerable possibility of being admitted to the top 2 universities in these 2 immortal sections. Of course, it's just an ordinary series, and the top cultivation talents won't compete with them. 700 is a hurdle. This means that he can be on par with the top cultivation talents in one or some aspects of the immortal cultivation discipline. Unfortunately, Li Juanhao only managed to reach the later stage of refining his body, refining his skin, flesh, and bones, giving birth to internal qi, and returning to his innate nature. His level only received a 10-point bonus, with hot and cold weapons being equally poor in practical training. All 3 were in the single digits of 5 points, and the total elective training was only a pitiable 25 points. The 2 looked at each other with a bitter expression on their faces. In the past decade, even the minimum score requirement for the Department of Taoism at Xianling University in our province has been 842, and there is no hope for the 2 of them. It's really unfair. Li Juanhao secretly glanced at the dozen or so people in the front row. They have less than 400 points in their cultural courses, but due to their innate spiritual roots, they do not need to learn martial arts to cultivate their body, generate internal qi, or return to their natural world. They are naturally able to cultivate immortal cultivation techniques and become high-ranking qi cultivators. Without learning, they can earn more than 200 points in their cultivation, far surpassing those of us who stay up late every day and study hard until 2 o'clock in the evening. Li Juanhao showed a hint of unwillingness. Jiangding knew that he was actually very arrogant, lacking magic and divine sense, and insisted on learning cultural courses better than most qi cultivators. But this arrogance is shattered in the face of the gap in reality. Whether it's grades in school, social status in the future, or even lifespan, they are far inferior. 14th place, Zhou Xiyuan, with a cultural score of 411 points, a cultivation score of 377 points, and a total score of 788 points. The homeroom teacher, Guo Kuei, finally had a smile on his stiff face and raised his head slightly. The second level of Qi cultivation has improved compared to before, and we will continue to maintain this momentum. There is still 1 year left until the college entrance examination. If we can break through the middle stage of Qi cultivation or improve our scores in geography, biology, history, and chemistry, the Department of Cultivation at Qianling University is expected to continue. The reason why these subjects are included is because the purpose of Blue Star education is to select cultivation talents. Chinese, mathematics, and physics involve the principles of cultivation techniques, meridian operation, as well as the 3 major related aspects of talismans and formations, which are extremely difficult and cannot be improved without talent and effort. However, I have already completed the high school curriculum in my first and second year of high school. Unless there is a miracle in the remaining year, it is basically impossible for these 3 foundational subjects to significantly improve their scores, and I can only focus on the other few subjects. As for ideological and moral character, this is a discipline that tests the understanding and support of the Xianmen system. As long as normal people learn normally, there are not too many heretical ideas and they can basically pass the exam if written. However, high scores are also difficult, subjective, and lack specific answers. The exam is graded by the Central Array Spirit Computer, which has a profound foundation in the Immortal sect. According to its program logic, scores are given based on the exam paper, students' past experiences, online and real-life comments, and even family and political backgrounds. Over the years, there have been high-scoring papers for ideological and moral education, but basically the papers are different. Countless tutors have studied for countless days and nights, but have not found any common ground, making it difficult to improve. This is also the reason why Jiangding's cultural and cultivation courses were not outstanding, but they were able to enter No. 1 middle school. The teachers and principals of No. 1 middle school are all supporters of Xianmen, with extremely high political consciousness. How could talented people be left behind outside the school? More than 20 people in the classroom turned their gaze to a freckled girl, with various complex emotions such as envy, heat, and inferiority. There is hope for a cultivation system. Jiangding's mood is also very complicated. The advantages of cultivators, too many. During the Qi cultivation period, there is a 200-point bonus for cultivation, and a 20-point bonus for the second level of Qi cultivation. The use of hot weapons and heavy machine guns, as well as the 3 major subjects of precision shooting, boundary shooting, and coverage shooting, can easily achieve a maximum score of 30 points for warriors with the assistance of divine consciousness. The remaining 30 points are called tank-driven combat, a warrior without divine consciousness, even an innate warrior who claims to be comparable to Qi training but does not even have the qualification to participate. 10th place. 9th place. 2nd place, Wu Tianli, with 5 levels of Qi cultivation, a cultural score of 730 points, a cultivation bonus of 467 points, and a total score of 1,197 points. Brush. In an instant, almost all eyes were drawn away, including those who were also in the refining stage. That was a confident and sunny handsome young man, nodding slightly and politely responding to the classmates around him. Practice the 5 levels of Qi. There was a commotion all around. Wu Tianli seems to be the 4 spiritual roots of gold, wood, water, and fire. How could the cultivation speed be so fast? His spiritual root attributes are quite good, and it is possible that he is very close to the 3 spiritual roots. 3 spirit roots. Not counting outside the realm, this is almost a top talent. Jiangding silently listened to the discussions of his classmates around him, like a transparent person. More than 10,000 years ago, Bluing Star was still an inanimate planet. Even though it had been intertwined with the cultivation world for more than 10,000 years, the local spiritual veins and roots were still extremely rare. The 4 spiritual roots were extremely rare, with almost one appearing in 80,000 to 90,000, let alone the 3 spiritual roots, 2 spiritual roots, and the legendary heavenly spiritual roots. The 4 spiritual roots cultivators, known as pseudo-spiritual roots outside the realm, are already geniuses on the blue planet. There is a possibility of entering the top 12 universities, even if there is a chance of entering the top 12 universities, even if there is a chance of entering the top 15 universities, Guokue said with a smile on his face. It should be noted that among the 39 universities with monastic departments, the 12th Central University is generally only coveted by the 3 spiritual roots cultivators. I will work hard, teacher, Wu Tianli said seriously. Everyone knows what he is talking about. The top 12 universities, including Qingfeng University and Beida University, have the title of hometown of Jiangding. According to the statistics of previous students, the probability of becoming a Jiangding cultivator after attending 12 universities is 10 times higher than that of all other schools and individual cultivators combined. This. Guokue encouraged, come on, teacher, believe in you. Attending the Department of Cultivation at 12 universities, also known as the 12 Palaces, each of which is dedicated to the meditation of Yuanying Zhenjuan. Even local 3 spiritual roots cultivators find it extremely difficult to enter, as only those who have achieved the highest level of cultivation in cultivation are able to enter. Outsider cultivators have a nickname for students who attend 12 universities. Yuanying Zhenjuan named disciple. At least in the eyes of outsiders, the identity of a student attending the 12 universities is equivalent to that of a named disciple of the Yuanying ancestor. If there is any communication, they will also wait and see it. So, one can imagine the difficulty involved. Basically, out of hundreds of millions of people in a province, only about 100 students are eligible to attend 12 universities each year. First place, Flower Soldier. With 6 levels of Qi cultivation, the cultural score is 723 points, the cultivation bonus is 479 points, and the total score is 1,202 points. Many admiring gazes turned to the woman in the center of the first row. She had a wheat-colored skin, was brave and handsome, and had the aura of a big sister. There is a high probability that one will enter the top 12 universities. Guokue made a judgment based on his professional experience. She may seem to be only 5 points behind Wu Tianli, but people are different. With her 3 spiritual roots and the strong cultivation of her father in the foundation realm, she is now at the peak of the 6th level of Qi cultivation. She can enter the 7th level of Qi cultivation at any time and become a late-stage cultivator. In the later stage of Qi cultivation, cultivators will experience a slight qualitative change in their mana and spiritual consciousness, which is also where they crush the foundation of cultivators in the early and middle stages of Qi cultivation. An additional 10 points is not a big deal. The growth of mana and divine sense, especially the slight qualitative changes in divine sense, can significantly improve a cultivator's computing power, memory, and divine sense scanning accuracy, which are crucial abilities. It will lead to a slight increase in learning ability. The scores in subjects such as Chinese, mathematics, physics, and biology are likely to see a slight overall increase. If the increase is significant enough, it is not impossible to expect to attend 12 universities. These are students with spiritual roots, and there are other students, so you must not lose heart. Guokue withdrew his gaze from Hua Bing and looked at ordinary students such as Jiangding and Li Juanhao, saying seriously. It is extremely difficult and slow to cultivate with long-lived professions like cultivators. Even if one's talent is unparalleled, it takes years to accumulate one step at a time. According to the teacher's experience, after the 3rd year of high school, the cultivation of top talented and deeply rooted young warriors will experience explosive growth. Every citizen of the Immortal sect, within 24 hours of birth, has a congenital martial artist who has been practicing the body, muscles, and bones with at least 30 years of large medicine. Within 3 days, there is a cultivation period where cultivators use nourishing spiritual fluids to train their meridians. In terms of qualifications, any Immortal sect citizen is a genius in some lower-level small worlds that only have martial arts inheritance. The setting of martial artists in the Immortal sect to participate in the college entrance examination is not just to support those with spiritual roots. Guo Kuei's tone is very serious. On the contrary, a large number of educated ordinary people are the most important cornerstone of the Immortal sect, and the top students' future achievements will not be inferior to those with spiritual roots. Many Immortal sect experts also lack spiritual roots, but this does not prevent them from crossing the sky and earth. Many students without spiritual roots are uplifted and regain hope. Jiangding pursed his lips. He noticed the two words, top-notch talent, in Teacher Guo's words. Think about it too, how can one expect to cultivate immortality if it is not for the dragons and phoenixes among humans? Alright, since the results of the last simulation test are out, students who are making progress should not be arrogant and complacent, while those who are regressing should work harder to live up to their youth. Guo Kuei put aside his class transcript, touched his shiny scalp, and opened his ideological and moral textbook. Since its inception, ideological and moral education has become a major course comparable to Chinese and mathematics, with a total score of 150 points, which is very important. A low score is acceptable, but if you don't even pass, it is an extremely serious problem. Although there may not be no college admissions, many future opportunities will be directly closed. Recite the first law of Immortal sect with a solemn tone. Start, said Guo Kuei. The sound of lang lang reading followed. The first law of Immortal sect. All knowledge within the blue star, including those of public and private institutions, owned by individuals, those with and without patents, knowledge of cultivation and non-cultivation, all knowledge created and discovered in the past, present, and future, belongs to all citizens. Any citizen who has not been deprived of political rights, as long as they submit an application and prove that they have the ability to understand the knowledge, can read any knowledge on blue screen star, any inheritance. If the knowledge is within the patent period, it is necessary to pay a patent fee recognized by the central array spirit computer. Jiangding and others solemnly recited aloud, every punctuation mark and every pause being precise. As for the feelings, there are no feelings. Because they started learning this on the first day of entering the preschool class, as well as literacy. The vast majority of Xianmen citizens first recognize these characters. If any institution or individual violates the first law of Xianmen and refuses the legal reading request of a legal citizen, the citizen should report to the local Xianmen institution and the Zhenling computer in the registered residence location at the first time. Organizations or individuals who have repeatedly warned and still refuse to comply with the first law of the Immortal clan, the army where the registered residence is located has the obligation to carry out strict material and soul destruction procedures under the supervision of the central phalanx computer. The sound of lang lang reading fell silent. I won't go into too much detail about the importance of the first law of immortality. Your middle and primary school teachers have already said many times that the college entrance examination is mandatory, and even the position, question type, and score are specified. This is a free gift of 15 points, but... Guo Kuei's face changed and he said, this time, 2 of our classmates made a mistake in writing a word. This is plagiarism, there are no deformation problems, it's just copying. The anger of the cultivator in the later stage of qi cultivation caused a strong wind to rise in the classroom. The books were blown away with a clatter, and only everyone's breathing gradually became clear. I won't say who it is. Guo Kuei regained his composure and said sternly, now is my time to grade the papers. Everyone still has the opportunity to make corrections. When it comes to the college entrance examination, with the central array spirit computer grading the papers, everything becomes a foregone conclusion. All these years of hard work will be in vain. Do you understand? I understand. In front of a furious late-stage cultivator, all the students answered honestly. Okay, now let's continue with the example from last time, the first confidentiality rule triggered by the words legal citizen of blue screen star, in the first law of the Immortal sect. The first question is, if the alliance of the Immortal sect outside the realm, the 5 elements heavenly sect, is composed of true disciples of the cultivators who have obtained the qualification of temporary citizens at the customs, what knowledge can be exchanged and what is prohibited from being leaked when given the opportunity to talk to them, in order to avoid triggering the immortal sect curse. At this point, you can refer to the customs regulations and the detailed rules of temporary citizens' authority. On the podium, Guokue talked confidently, extending from example questions to reality and returning to theory, while the students below quickly recorded. Unlike ordinary students like Jiangding who wield pens like the wind and sweat profusely, cultivators like Wu Tianli in the front row hold a jade slip to record their divine sense and magical power, effortlessly and efficiently surpassing the former. Dingling, you should remember the knowledge points taught in this class and do more example exercises when you go back. 2 hours later, Guokue reluctantly closed his textbook and left the classroom. At the moment he left, the sound of panting echoed everywhere, and figures quickly disappeared. The fastest, of course, are the cultivators who have been blessed with the wind control technique, like a green smoke disappearing in an instant. Students at the lowest level of martial arts cannot even see when they left. Secondly, there are naturally 3 martial artists in the inner chi realm in the class. Although the inner chi is much weaker than that of the cultivators, it is more than enough to crush a dry body refining martial artist. Finally, it was Jiangding, the peak martial artist in the bone refining realm, who, with one hand, rushed towards the cultivation room in the envious gaze of Li Juanhao. From 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., it is a practice class. As expected, the top 10 cultivation rooms in the cultivation area have been occupied by various fierce people. Jiangding student card swiped at the entrance of the number 41 cultivation room, and the steel metal door slowly opened. The student behind him showed a regretful expression and rushed towards the nearby cultivation room number 42. The Bluing Star has been in contact with the cultivation world for less than 10,000 years, with scarce spiritual energy and resources. Currently, all spiritual energy has been collected by the Immortal sect, leaving only enough spiritual energy for cultivators to barely maintain their breathing. Of course, Jiangding is just a warrior, he cannot sense spiritual energy, nor can he use it. What they are competing for is actually the Ningyuan Zhuanggu Tang, provided by the Ministry of Education of the Immortal sect in the cultivation room for high school seniors in the bone refining realm. It is developed by the Immortal Sect Academy of Sciences and brewed from hundreds or thousands of medicinal herbs, striving for excellence. Although it is a large-scale refining, the effect is not inferior. In some low-level small worlds, it can be called a genius treasure, and obtaining it requires both strength and opportunity. The higher the ranking of the cultivation room, the better the effect of Ningyuan Zhuanggu Tang. If they are cultivators or martial artists with lower levels, they will also receive different things, which may be the spiritual energy concentration of this serial number, or it may be a great tonic soup for nourishing muscles and bones. The door opened and there were over 100 square meters of size inside. There was a weapon rack next to it, and there were knives, guns, swords, and halberds. In the center was a banyan tree root twisted into a palm, holding a bowl of milky white thick soup in the center of the palm, emitting a pungent aroma. Stepping into the cultivation room, the metal door behind slowly closed. A postcard-like blue light curtain slowly unfolds. Name: Jiangding, Student ID 124-6215, Realm. Peak of Bone Refining Realm, Last Training Subject. The 68th set of Eagle Takeoff Sword Technique, proficient at 32%, below the light curtain. Zhaozhuyuan.com is a virtual little person composed of meridians and threads. Each muscle, bone, and skin is clearly labeled and can be freely enlarged or reduced. Skin and muscles are mostly 100%, while in small areas such as underarm skin, scalp, cheek muscles, and gastrointestinal muscles that are difficult to exercise, they range from 12%, 46%, and 0%. No matter how much you exercise, this place is extremely difficult to touch, and you can only use internal chi to assist in perfect exercise after the birth of internal chi. Overall, most of the skin and muscles have reached their current limits, and the computer in the cultivation room is connected to the Rongcheng formation spirit computer, which is equivalent to a clone with the ability to transform spirits and assist in observation and confirmation, without any errors or omissions. The real challenge lies in the spine. The limbs, ribs, sternum, lateral skull, etc. are all 100%, with only the vertebrae showing only 60%. The majority are 1%, 2%, and the degree of refinement is extremely low. Jiangding knows what the reason is. The 68th Eagle takeoff decision, proficient 32%. He sighed. The 68th Eagle takeoff decision. The name of this cultivation method is very ordinary, and it is only the lowest level among scriptures, classics, techniques, methods, and decisions. It is a cultivation method for young children among ordinary people to learn, and it looks very garbage. In fact, it has a name in dozens of worlds around it, including the cultivation world. The first groundbreaking divine skill in all realms. No one is dissatisfied. Because this cultivation technique has an extremely terrifying effect. If ordinary people can successfully break through their innate abilities with it, they will cast a Tao body prototype, and their cultivation ability will approach the top 4 spiritual roots. It can be said to change one's destiny against the heavens. Chapter 2. The decision of the young eagles taking off. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The Immortal sect is different from any known cultivation sect and is very unique. Inherited from the previous civilization era, it attaches great importance to mortals and does not consider them as a group of ants whose sole function is to produce spiritual roots cultivators. The 68th Eagle takeoff decision is a product of this ideology. The project was born on the first day of discovering the cultivator, more than 10,000 years ago, after the efforts of various generations of Immortal sect ancestors to improve, including the participation of the God Transformation Ancestor and a large number of Yuanying cultivators. It has been iterated 68 times so far. Even now, one of the core main threads of the central array spirit computer is still deducing the 69th generation of Eagle takeoff decision. If there is a breakthrough, even the modern God Ancestor may invest in it to accelerate its research and development progress. This is definitely a groundbreaking breakthrough in the cultivation world. Those big and small sects, holy places, may also have this ability, perhaps not, but they absolutely cannot invest a lot of resources and high-level cultivators in such places. All the high-level cultivators of the 4 spiritual roots who were short-lived in history have obtained the existence of an incredible opportunity, and there is no possibility of replication. The 68th set of Eagle takeoff technique is a popular textbook on Blue Screen Star, which includes sword techniques, fist techniques, and stick techniques, all of which can be found if you want. Jiangding is practicing the 68th set of the Eagle flying sword technique. Unfortunately, the difficulty often matches the effectiveness of the technique. I started learning martial arts at the age of 7, and it has been 9 years now. I am still only at a proficient level, and I am still far from Xiaocheng. So, how can we exercise until the bone marrow produces internal qi? Jiangding's qualifications, although considered the bottom among the blue stars. However, he is at the bottom of the Blue Screen Star Warriors qualifications. With the assistance of the Rongcheng formation spirit computer, no matter which small world only inherits martial arts, one is a genius among geniuses. It is not surprising that they have reached the peak of their internal energy realm through dimension reduction strikes. The fact is that if he were practicing martial arts techniques other than the Eagle taking off decision, he might have innate hope now. The only downside is that the path to cultivation is cut off. The vast majority of mortal martial arts are created by mortals and low-level cultivators, and with their abilities and knowledge, they are simply unable to undertake cultivation. The process of cultivating mortal martial arts is to forcefully destroy many small meridians in the body that martial artists cannot observe, causing the already poor qualifications to fall below the floor line. Even if one forcibly transfers to the cultivation of immortal cultivation techniques from the innate realm, taking the risk of dying, and ultimately succeeds, the ultimate goal is only to cultivate 1 or 2 layers of qi, and the lifespan will be greatly reduced. Today, I will continue to practice the 68th set of eagle takeoff sword technique. Jiangding said, taking a green steel sword from the weapon rack. The shape of the 8-faced Han sword is 1.3 meters long, with a sharp edge. It is made of N2702 breaking steel and has a weak breaking effect. When infused with internal power, it can also increase slightly. This material is also a commonly used material for making bullets. At the speed of sound and spin, it can isolate a certain degree of interference from the cultivator's divine sense, and will not deviate from the initial shooting direction due to a slight touch of divine sense. Place your hand on the hilt of the sword. Instantaneous, the little person under the light screen moved. Stretching his limbs, his body gradually enlarged and became like Jiangding. He had the same height, shoulder width, arm length, etc., but his body was composed of light blue light, with every muscle, bone, and small meridian clearly visible, marked with small letters. Preparatory. Amidst the mechanical sound, the blue figure moved and stepped out with its right foot, slightly bending its knee. Its left hand caressed the scabbard, while its right hand passed through its waist and placed it on the hilt. The air around is stagnant. Although it was just a pile of light blue lines forming a figure without even skin, a heavy momentum spread out like a towering pine tree. Jiangding knew that this was not just about holding a sword in hand. From his perspective, he can clearly see the complex changes in the meridians and muscles of the figure in less than half a second, like springs of different sizes compressing and gathering various forces, accumulating energy for the next moment of earth-shattering. The aura is not an illusion, but rather the human brain perceives danger and issues warnings in this form to keep the body as far away from the source of danger as possible. Jiangding held the hilt of the sword, his posture resembling that of a blue figure, and closed his eyes to feel the energy of his body muscles and meridians. Out of 639 muscles, 52 of them are unable to fully store energy, mainly located in the smooth muscles of the digestive system and bladder, as well as the heart muscle. Even if he has already completed the cultivation of the meat refining realm, he still cannot exercise these muscles perfectly. A tiny loss is 1,000 miles away. The effect reflected is that it is at least 3 times less than the strength accumulation of the figure in front of it, even if the other person is completely using their muscle, meridian, and bone data to form it, the foundation is exactly the same. Exhibition sword style. The image of the pale blue person is a spring that accumulates force to the extreme, suddenly moving from extreme stillness to speed. With the tip of the sword as the pen, a regular circle is drawn around it. Hundreds of muscle lines, from taut to released, follow certain rules and are as graceful as a piano master playing, full of rhythmic beauty. Jiangding followed suit, but the circles he drew always had a slight disharmony in deviation, making it impossible to fully unleash his accumulated strength. Arm sword style. Step sword style. Dirty sword style. Swordsmanship. Hejian style. Benjian style. Jiangding followed the figure, wielding a sword and dancing, suddenly advancing and sprinting, then turning right and chopping, and then repeatedly stabbing around a point. The sound of his sword blade hissing and breaking through the air echoed everywhere, and his figure was scattered throughout the over 100 square meter practice room. Hidden sword style. The sword blade silently sheathed, and Jiangding's body trembled slightly. He tried his best to calm his big gasps and exhaled exhaust gas bit by bit. A large amount of sweat flowed out of his pores, soaking his clothes tightly against his skin in an instant. Including the preparatory moves, the eagle takeoff sword technique only has 9 moves, emphasizing speed and explosiveness, and combining practice and gameplay. It is a sophisticated sword technique that exhausts the research of meridians, muscles, and bones. If practiced to a small extent, paired with sharp weapons, killing ordinary martial artists in the internal energy realm is just a casual matter. Jiangding felt pain all over his body, like a burning stomach. Take 3 steps and take 1 step at a time. Take the milky whitening yuan zhuanggu tang and drink it all in 1 gulp. The temperature is still appropriate, but it did not cool down after being left for so long. A warm sensation fell from the throat into the stomach and spread throughout the body, instantly relieving the severe pain. The eagle taking off sword technique delves too deeply into the human body, which puts a great burden on the body. If it weren't for the Ningyuan Zhuanggu Tang provided by the school, it would be okay in the short term. If there is no nourishment for a long time, it is easy to make people waste. Ding! Jiangding was overjoyed and quickly looked up at the figure in front of him. The body, composed of light blue lines, flickered with the first vertebrae, increasing from 62% to 63%. 4%. Jiangding exclaimed, "If you do 10 more times, you will be able to refine the first vertebrae. Give me another 30 days, will you be able to break through the internal Qi realm?" Unable to rest, he immediately took advantage of the time to practice another set of swordsmanship. Unfortunately, it may be due to impatience and inadequate movements. This time, not to mention 4%, not even 1% of the progress has been improved. It's indeed an illusion. Jiangding felt a bit depressed, but instead he calmed down and slowly pondered over his movements that were not in place, and how the rhythm and order of muscle and meridian movements differed from those of the figure. After practicing 10 or so times in a row, I finally gained something. The proficiency of the eagle takeoff sword technique has increased slightly, becoming 33% proficient, taking a small step closer to Xiaocheng. Several other vertebrae have also undergone several improvements. Dingling unconsciously, it was time for class to end, and the light blue figure slowly disappeared. The bright cultivation room lights were turned off in sequence, and the door of the cultivation room slowly opened. Jiangding rinsed for a few minutes, changed into a blue and white school uniform, and walked out of the cultivation room. It is said that those cultivation geniuses can increase their martial arts skills by 5 to 6% and bone forging by more than 10% every time they practice. Over time, they have accumulated this, and I wonder what level they have reached now. Is the internal energy complete? Is the internal energy complete? Jiangding pondered silently. Although number 1 high school is the best high school in Rongcheng City, with the highest number of students admitted to the university's martial arts department every year, its teaching staff in martial arts is not the strongest, so it has not been able to attract those top talented martial artists. Most of them are concentrated in number 9 high school. Most of the students on the way back to the classroom from the training room were classmates, some of whom shrugged and tugged on their shoulders, with their feet floating, clearly practicing hard. In the classroom, people came back one after another, and Jiangding found his seat and closed his eyes to rest. Soon, a strong smell of sweat came from the tip of the nose. How is the progress? He didn't lift his eyelids. Not bad, Li Juanhao said in a deep voice. In a few months, there is a chance to break through the process of refining skin and enter the realm of refining meat. Cheer up. After a few minutes, the noise gradually stopped and Jiangding opened his eyes. The squad leader Hua Bing stood on the podium at an unknown time. Starting from the first row, everyone collected their backpacks in an orderly manner. She used her student card to swipe the display screen on the metal cabinet next to the blackboard, and each small door opened one by one, revealing the colorful backpacks inside. Each student takes it for granted and takes out their backpack one by one. Quickly, Jiangding received his gray backpack and a pitch-black sword beside him. He first wore the sword around his waist and then took out a box from his backpack. Open the box. Inside was a black pistol and a magazine full of bullets. Type 58 self-defense pistol. Jiangding instinctively remembered the pistol data that had accompanied him since middle school. In 10558, the Type 58 self-defense pistol was manufactured by Luban Arms Technology Company, with 6 magazines and a 7.62 mm N2702 steel bullet with an effective range of 50 meters. It can break through the internal defense of small martial artists in the inner atmosphere within this distance, hit one point with 2 consecutive shots, or hit 3 consecutive shots to break through the internal defense of large martial artists in the inner atmosphere. Since over 10,000 years ago, the blue-winged star has been intersecting with the cultivation world, and from time to time, external cultivators or warriors may suddenly teleport into the blue-winged star, causing significant damage to nearby residents. Although the blue star is barren, it occasionally produces a heavenly and earthly treasure that drives cultivators from outside the world crazy. The breaking Dharma immortal gold. For this reason, it is willing to sacrifice its life and forget its death, especially for many elderly cultivators who are nearing their lifespan. Therefore, a long time ago, Blue Screen Star fully relaxed the nationwide gun ownership permit, and even middle school students had to start gun training. Of course, it was mainly for self-defense, to gain time to escape, which was also the reason for distributing handguns to them. Disassemble and maintain. Hua Bing shouted loudly. Divine consciousness unfolds, and the Type 58 pistol is suspended in the air, spontaneously decomposing into more than 30 types of parts such as barrel, recoil spring, sleeve, firing pin, magazine, etc. The gun oil bottle automatically opens and applies maintenance oil. Of course, with her ability to practice 6 layers of chi, the Type 58 self-defense pistol is just a symbolic meaning and cannot bring any protection. More than 30 students also began to take action, with clicking sounds echoing one after another. Jiangding's fingers danced like a phantom, disassembling the pistol into parts of different sizes, then applying maintenance oil to them one by one and reassembling them. He is very careful, checking the wear and tear of various parts one by one, and whether the bullets are intact. Unlike powerful chi cultivators, this is something that truly concerns his safety. Although Rongcheng City is still very stable and has not experienced any invasion or killing of extraterrestrial cultivators for many years, we must be well prepared. It has been 32 seconds since the reassembly was completed and put into the holster worn at the waist. Looking around, everyone gradually completed the task. Firstly, the firearms need to be insured. Let's go. Hua Bing nodded and everyone agreed. Firstly, firearms must be insured and the muzzle must not be aimed at people, otherwise they will be treated as drunk driving. Secondly, on the bus, give way to the elderly and children. Firearms must not be used anywhere except for self-defense. Class is over. Goodbye class monitor. Jiangding grabbed his backpack and ran away from the window with a skip step. He is considered normal. There are people upstairs who directly use lightness skills and windward techniques to leap over 10 meters, while others run to the treetops and disappear with each jump. There are also tycoons who control magical weapons such as flying swords and fly gracefully in the sky, attracting envious gazes. It's Gong Sunling from Class 2, and she's also on the 6th level of Chi training. I heard she just obtained her flying magic weapon driving license a few days ago, Li Juanhao said with envy as he climbed down the window. At the middle stage of Chi cultivation, I'm not afraid of losing enough mana, someone beside me said sourly. If it falls, then it falls. Anyway, it's only about 10 meters high, and it's impossible to get injured. Jiangding glanced at the charming and naive girl in the sky, feeling equally envious in his heart. Even if the Type 58 pistol bullets in her hand were fired completely, the character in the cloud would not be able to break her shield and injure her at all, right? He was forced to walk on the ground, carrying a backpack and taking one step at a time. Bang bang walking to the school gate, the powerful roar of the engine could be heard from afar, one after another. Jiangding quickly gave way to the road. Hurry up. Oh, slow down your driving, the formation is going to be chaotic. A medium-sized tank drove into the school gate, with a 100mm muzzle slightly raised, revealing bright rifling. A 12.7mm high dual-purpose machine gun with a muzzle pointing 45 degrees diagonally towards the sky from the side and back, with smooth and heavy armor and 5 pairs of wheels rotating. Students along the way avoided it. A student with a slightly dark skin sat cross-legged on the turret, closing his eyes and recuperating. Type 62 training tank. A thought came to Jiangding's mind. Generally speaking, the driver should be in the cockpit, and the frontal armor of the Type 62 tank can withstand attacks from cultivators in the later stages of Qi training without damage. But weak points such as tracks and muzzle are difficult to say. Therefore, many cultivators do not like to stay in the cockpit and instead use their divine sense to control. Formation. Formation. Behind the tank, there were 12 high school students from Class 3, who were carrying Type 89 heavy machine guns weighing 125 kilograms. They stood almost in 2 straight lines, following the marching formation and strictly aligning with the width of the tank. It didn't matter to cultivators, but for those who were still warriors, their bodies were as fragile as paper. This was the only defense that enemy cultivators could rely on after breaking through their own cultivators' interception on the battlefield. More than 10 Type 62 tanks roared past, bringing dust to the ground. Class 3 has returned from the field training. Li Juanhao roast. This old tactic should have been phased out long ago. The class structure of the active army units has long been changed to tanks and several or 10 automatic artillery units, and it would be great to annihilate the enemy outside the range of tens of kilometers mid to low-level cultivators' divine consciousness. Jiangding shook his head and said, "It's not that simple. Outsiders are increasingly inclined to practice stealth, earth retreat, water retreat, and other mobile shielding spells. Our infantry spirit radar is not always able to find and lock enemies." During a casual conversation, the two waved goodbye at the intersection. Jiangding stopped under the bus stop sign on Route 18 and waited for the bus in a corner with fewer people. By around 6 p.m., there were already some people here. A group of chattering elementary school students contributed the most noise and energy, in addition to some seemingly exhausted office workers, mostly with inner cultivation and gun boxes on their backs. They were not self-defense pistols like Jiangding, but combat firearms such as submachine guns and shotguns. As for heavy machine guns, sniper guns, and even dual anti-aircraft machine guns, they can generally be purchased and collected, but it is extremely difficult to bring them to public places, and personal gun certificates for such firearms are rarely issued. The streets are filled with martial artists in the inner Qi realm, and there are very few people in the third realm of physical cultivation. They are either minors or disabled, or too lazy street wanderers. This does not mean that the students in Rongcheng No. 1 High School, which is known as Rongcheng No. 1 High School, are all thugs, and the whole class adds up to only 3 inner energy levels. However, the eagle taking off decision is actually a cultivation technique, and even with the assistance of the Rongcheng Formation Spirit Computer, the difficulty is beyond imagination. Many people, after graduating from high school or most vocational high school students, will no longer practice eagle takeoff decision and instead switch to mortal martial arts, naturally progressing very quickly. According to the information on the internet, the most popular secular martial arts are the 9-yang manual and Jiuyin skill. The former has the function of strengthening the body and nourishing the essence, while the latter can nourish the yin and beauty. The power of true qi is also good, which is enough to become the authentic martial arts of any secular sect that can only be contacted by the core. The super popular one is the secret technique of Shao Yin Yang Gong. Of course, even so, being born is a threshold that only a few people can overcome. As an innate warrior, it is not difficult to become a middle-class person. The sharp screeching of the bus brakes and the farting sound of air release, the elementary school students crowded onto the bus, chattering. Then came the people like Jiangding, who boarded the bus and glanced around without any accidents. They found a railing by the window and stood there. Leaning back, the wind blows from the window, bringing a hint of coolness. Jiangding silently pondered on the various meridian and muscle movements on the figure's body during the previous training class, combined with the basic principles of the Chinese and math classes, and combined the two. Why is the meridian running so efficiently in the preparatory style? Is it possible to make some changes? Woo hoo 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 squeak. The sudden sound of air defense sirens and brakes shook Jiangding's body. He found Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and regained consciousness from his thoughts. He clenched his sword handle and quickly scanned the surroundings with his eyes. The notice above indicates that cultivators have broken through the realm and invaded. Passage ahead is prohibited. The driver shouted loudly and explained, hastily pulling out an AK-47 from the cabinet. The cultivator broke through the realm and invaded. There was a moment of silence inside the carriage, followed by an uproar. Don't panic. Get off the car in an orderly manner, the police are already handling it. The driver was also a bit panicked, opened the car door, and organized passengers to get off from the front and back doors. Fortunately, although Rongcheng has not been invaded by cultivators for many years, such news still occasionally appears in other places online, and everyone is not panicked to the point of completely losing control. Jiangding followed the crowd and got off the car behind a group of children. Over there in the air raid shelter, hurry up. Mom, I'm afraid. Jiangding looked around and saw that the road, which had just been bustling with traffic, had come to a standstill. A large number of citizens were evacuating in a noisy manner, and many places that were originally walls and grass had opened doors. The red signs of the air raid shelters were very prominent. Both schools and companies have air defense exercises every month, although it is chaotic, the crowd is still relatively orderly. Shoo! 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 The sharp sound of braking through the air. Missiles! Someone in the crowd exclaimed in surprise. Jiangding looked up. 1, 2, 3. Hundreds of white smoke with flames roared through the sky at a speed far beyond the speed of sound, leaving only a trail of shadows on the retina and disappearing. Chapter 3. Missile Control Devices. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiangding noticed that 3 missiles in the missile group were particularly bright. They fly in a finished shape, sometimes on the left, sometimes on the right, sometimes suddenly accelerating over 100 missiles, exploring something, sometimes slowing down, flying side by side with other missiles, blending in, and no longer seeing anything special on the surface. In less than half a second, these scenes disappeared and the sky was empty, with the sound of children crying in their ears. Boom! In the distance, first there was a strong light, a flash that could be seen even in the daytime. After a few seconds, a strong roar came over, suppressing the crying. Finally, a hot airflow roared past. A junior who has only practiced 9 levels of Qi. I have been wandering for over 200 years. There was a slight sound coming from the wind, very light, mixed in with the sound of the wind, completely ignored without paying attention. Jiangding was very focused in a special state and heard a little. This voice is extremely infectious, with strong anger and unwillingness. Then, I didn't hear anything. The air defense warning came to a sudden halt. After waiting for a while, there was no repetition. The panicked crowd slowly recovered, and many people were still in shock. They confirmed the safety of their relatives with their phones and stopped taking the bus and changed to walking. However, most passengers still returned, walking too far away. With the sound of the horn, the still traffic gradually resumed its flow. There were fewer people in the car, and Jiangding mixed up a seat next to the driver. That's called a missile control tool. Seeing Jiangding still staring into the distance, the driver's uncle casually said, it can add special spells such as acceleration, flight, restraint, and sharpness to the missile. The 9th level cultivator of Qi can control it to attach to the missile, which also poses a certain threat to the foundation building cultivator. The air defense alarm stopped so quickly, and it is estimated that the cultivator who broke the boundary has been killed, but I don't know how many people have died. Any invasion by external cultivators will cause a large number of casualties among the people. Compared to mid to high level cultivators, mortals are too fragile. Jiangding's heart skipped a beat as he dialed his mother and sister. Fortunately, both of them were far away from this area and there was no accident. The driver took a long detour. Jiangding only saw that place, which seemed to have a pile of ruins mixed with red, and couldn't see anything else. Fulin home, here we are. Next stop, Baizi. Jiangding woke up with his face on his knee, rubbed his eyes, wiped his saliva, and got off the car in a daze. Fulin Jiayuan is a 20-year-old residential area, which was purchased by Jiangding's grandparents when they were young. It has a total of 7 floors. In order to deal with air defense safety, except for buildings protected by formations, they generally do not exceed 7 floors. Xiaofei Ferry, we are best friends. Entering the elevator, I opened the door and saw a chubby, round-faced little girl watching TV intently, without even looking back, saying, "Jiangding, the vegetables are ready and left in the kitchen. Don't call me by name." Jiang Yuan, this guy, started to become impolite after entering the first year of junior high school and was still cute when he was in elementary school. In the kitchen, Jiangding looked at 3 lonely eggs and a tomato in the plastic bag. Jiang Yuan. Standing in front of the TV, Jiangding was speechless and said, "There must be a limit to corruption, okay? Do you treat us too like birds? My mother often works overtime." Due to the proximity of the school to the vegetable market, Jiang Yuan is responsible for buying groceries every day. This guy is extremely dishonest. That. Jiang Yuan's eyes flickered as he looked around. I met the school bully and was robbed of most of the vegetable money. Very good. Jiangding remained expressionless and took out his phone. He dialed 110 and said, just in time to call the police and catch him. Who is his name? Don't worry about not being able to find anyone. Except for private places such as toilets and homes, the vast majority of public areas are under the monitoring of the Rongcheng Formation Spirit Computer. This is also one of the reasons why cross-border intrusions by cultivators can be quickly resolved before. Jiang Yuan's face changed and he turned his head. Okay, I admit, I used this money in savings to buy Xiaofei Ferry's figurine. Jiangding shook his head, switched his phone to the payment code, placed it in front of her, and remained silent. This little thing belongs to Pixiu and has an extremely fanatical habit of saving money. From childhood to adulthood, I have never seen her buy anything over 10 yuan. Even Xiaofei's figurine cannot make her spend money. Of course, this is her money. If it were Jiangding's money, she would still be very generous in spending it. The two of them stared at each other for a whopping 3 minutes. Jiangding. Jiang Yuan was indignant, but ultimately had to lose and scan the code to transfer money. Ding. 25.4 yuan. Jiangding ignored her aggressive behavior and added a little more money. He ordered 2 takeout orders and warned, if you go too far, I will report it to my mother and deprive you of the right to buy groceries. If my mother doesn't want her son to suffer from malnutrition all day, she will agree. Got it. Jiang Yuan reluctantly said. Jiangding got up and went to the kitchen, washed the remaining tomato, placed it on the cutting board, and placed his hand on the hilt of the sword. Resounding. A snowy sword light suddenly appeared, flickering 3 times in a row and then 3 times again, retracting the scabbard. Not bad. Jiangding spread out a spherical tomato, with a total of 7 pieces, evenly distributed in thickness. He nodded in satisfaction and sighed, you still need to cut a knife in the middle before you can put it on the pot. This is not something that can be achieved with just one sword in the refining realm, it goes beyond the basic rules of mechanical operation. Having true qi is enough. Speaking of which, although he has the lowest level of proficiency in Chinese and mathematics, his swordsmanship is still very good, even stronger than the martial artists in his class. According to the teacher, if he works hard for a few more years, he may be able to reach the threshold of understanding the meaning. Unfortunately, there are no eggs to use. No matter how skilled the swordsmanship is, if the submachine gun is knocked down in one shot, if you feel that its power is not enough, you can directly use a heavy machine gun to shoot the barrage, and even chi cultivators need to temporarily detour and hide. The main function of cold weapon elective is to cultivate sentiments and understand the combat methods of enemies outside the immortal realm. Jiangding, have you washed your sword yet? Jiang Yuan shouted, you got dust and sweat while practicing your sword. You can eat it yourself, but I can't eat it. Don't worry, I'm practicing swordsmanship today using the school's saber. Soon, a regular plate of scrambled tomatoes and eggs was taken out of the pot and placed on the dining table. Jiang Yuan was still looking at her little fairy, while Jiangding sat on the sofa with his eyes closed, his pitch-black sword scabbard lying horizontally on his knee, silently pondering the eagle-flying sword technique. This martial art is vast and profound, seemingly just a swordsmanship, but in reality it encompasses everything. The principles of Chinese martial art symbols, the principles of mathematical and physical formations, the bones and muscles of living beings, and the internal structures of spiritual and monster meridians and flesh are all contained in it. The better one studies related subjects, the higher their understanding of swordsmanship. That, Jiangding. Say. Jiangding didn't open his eyes. My dad contacted me today, asking if I have studied hard and if my body is healthy. Should I respond to him? You can do it yourself, don't tell mom. Jiangding glanced at the conflicted Jiang Yuan and then closed his eyes. Jiangding's father divorced his mother shortly after being born in Jiangyuan. Since then, his mother has brought the two of them to her own house. At that time, Jiangding almost cried and shouted for his father every day, but as he grew up, he rarely mentioned it. Over the years, through his uncle and other relatives, he has also speculated on the reasons behind his parents' divorce. Back then, I got married in elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. My father, who had always been a childhood sweetheart with my mother, probably had an affair. It seemed like he had a slightly older child than Jiangding without telling her. Dong dong dong. On the window of the 7th floor, a white bird the size of a palm lightly pecked at the glass with its pointed beak. It was heavy and light, and its claws grabbed a beige bag. Mr. Jiang, your takeout has arrived. Please sign for it. Thank you for coming to the Lingshan restaurant. Jiangding stood up, opened the window, took out a receipt from the bird's belly and wrote his name on it, then stuffed it back and took the takeout bag from his paw. Welcome to the Lingshan restaurant next time. The white bird flapped its wings and flew towards the distance. After eating, washing dishes, and completing today's homework with Jiang Yuan and his classmates made an appointment to play together, while Jiangding returned to his room. After hesitating for a moment, Jiangding opened the drawer. A broken sword tip embroidered in red appeared before my eyes, the size of 2 fingers, very small, with uneven cuts, as if it had been broken by some violent force. Can it be a fragment of a magic weapon? Jiangding pinched the broken sword tip with 2 fingers, feeling warm and soft like jade, unlike metal. This was found by him at the bus stop 3 days ago, not unintentionally. At that time, while still at school, his soul trembled and suddenly sensed something extremely important and connected in blood appearing somewhere. Following the perception, I finally found it under the bus stop sign. At the moment of contact with the broken sword, an instinct emerged, letting Jiangding know that the tip of the broken sword was named Red. With just a thought, it could take the host through a certain world. Jiangding did not believe this kind of unexpected opportunity at the first time. For example, more than 800 years ago, there was a cultivator outside the realm who lost his body in a war, leaving only his remaining soul to escape. He disguised himself as an old grandfather and lurked in the sea, where he was still practicing qi. In the end, he was almost taken away and infiltrated the secret department of the Immortal sect, stealing the secrets of the Immortal sect. 137 points for ideological and moral character. Without any delay, he went directly to the city library where the Rongcheng Array spirit computer was located and used his annual student privileges to conduct a comprehensive medical examination. The Rongcheng Formation Spirit Computer is a branch of the Central Formation Spirit Computer, and the database is connected to the main body, almost equivalent to the perspective of the transforming God power. If there is any clue, it can definitely be detected. There are no issues with the test results. Beat it. Jiangding remained calm in his heart and muttered to himself, even if there are problems, they can still deceive the problem of the power of transforming gods. This kind of character's game won't erupt in 100 years, will it? That's too shameless. Moreover, this is just my imagination, and there is a high probability that there is still no one who can be so idle and calculating me, a mediocre person. Since he had made up his mind, Jiangding didn't delay either. He picked up a cardboard box that was half a person tall, brought his ID card and medical insurance card, and went to the hotel at the entrance of the first hospital of the city to open a room. Rongcheng First Hospital, the best public hospital in Rongcheng, has rich experience in treating knife and gun injuries and poisoning at zhaozhuyuan.com. As long as you don't get your head blown up on the spot, even if you have a broken hand, foot, or heart, you can save it. Taking student medical insurance is not too difficult to afford. Taking a deep breath, without immediately crossing, Jiangding opened the cardboard box. These things cost him all his New Year's money from childhood to adulthood, as well as the money his mother provided to support him in practicing martial arts and purchasing supplements after entering his third year of high school, totaling just over 20,000 yuan. A set of camouflage clothing, including shoes and a pair of transparent tactical gloves. Produced by Luban Military Technology Company, it is made of bulletproof materials that can deform and adapt to the human body. It can withstand at most 2 close-range shots from a handgun with maximum strength, and can withstand full-force attacks with sharp weapons even if the internal chi is small. A tactical panoramic helmet. Ball-shaped, like a glass basketball, it can defend against viruses, self-supply oxygen within an hour, and withstand the full-force attacks of powerful warriors without any damage. It can also connect to the drone's perspective, communication module, and receive instructions from superiors. It is one of the standard equipment for Xianmen infantry combat. If you find the helmet bulky, the seller also offers a pair of contact lenses that can be equipped with communication modules and connected to the drone's perspective, but without any protection. There are also 4 rotary wing drones, flying at an altitude of 2,000 meters, equipped with high-definition cameras and miniature induction radars, which can clearly see the movements of humans and animals within 5 kilometers of the ground. If the opponent does not have hidden breath, they can even roughly perceive their strength. It can be said that it is armed to the teeth. In the end, I also bought a bunch of common medicines such as cold medicine and Yunnan Baiyao-Qing in my pocket, as well as the Heavenly King life protecting pill that my mother spent half a year's salary on when I was a child. That's it. Jiang Dingxin's heart turned horizontally, touching the tip of the broken sword and spinning in an instant. Chapter 4. Alien Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Green Mountains are vast and boundless. Ancient trees can be seen everywhere, with withered old vines clinging tightly to the trunk. The forest is deep and dark, with almost no sunlight visible. Birds and animals run through the treetops, faintly visible. Accompanied by a faint white light, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky, falling straight down. At first, the figure had dark green stripes, and during the falling process, the light and shadow flowed and changed. For a moment it turned into a semi-transparent air, for a moment it turned into stripes composed of green leaves and brown dead branches, and finally it turned into a brown-yellow color of fallen leaves on the ground. Without careful inspection, it was impossible to find anything else hidden here. Warning. Impacted. Normal oxygen concentration. No harmful gases. Weak spiritual energy concentration. At the moment of the fall, Jiangding hugged his knees and rolled like a ball from the treetops to the ground. The tactical helmet reported a series of data. It's just a height of over 10 meters, with camouflage protection and cushioning, and no injuries. There are animals and plants, the air is normal, and there is spiritual energy. Jiangding stood up and took a deep breath, knowing that his adventure had been successful. There should be no carelessness. If this is the territory of an outsider cultivator, then it's over. You must be careful not to easily expose modern technological items. Go back. Jiangding said silently. With a blink of an eye, the vast mountains and forests disappeared, and in front of me was the white background wall of the hotel. By the window was the bustling first hospital of Rongcheng city. Jiangding calmed down and said, "Go back again." Grasping the long sword tightly, carefully traversing through the dense forest, finally finding a large stone that could see sunlight. Taking out 2 basketball-sized cylinders from his backpack and placing them on the ground, he opened the fuses one by one. Bang! Bang! Accompanied by the glow of propelling gunpowder, the 4 unmanned aircraft flew to a height of several tens of meters, stumbled for a moment, and deployed their rotors to stabilize in the sky, forming a standard square formation. Jiangding took out the control handle, and the 4 unmanned planes climbed up and down to a distance of over 2,000 meters. The maximum distance of the spiritual consciousness of most foundation-building cultivators was less than 2,000 meters, and most birds could not fly that high, so it was generally safe. The drone camera is turned on, and the left and right perspectives of the panoramic tactical helmet project scenes of mountains and forests rapidly shrinking, while blue dots continue to appear in the picture. Unknown monkey creatures, mortal beasts. The black and white striped tiger. Unknown snake creatures. The information on various large biological species, locations, and strengths within a 6 square kilometer area is rapidly refreshing. Jiangding has set up red dot markers for organisms that are equivalent to the strength of the internal environment, but they have not yet appeared, which is in line with the ecological status of the micro-spiritual environment. Unknown creatures. So many. Jiangding shook his hand and spoke in surprise. The immortal sect's thirst for knowledge is endless. Nature is a huge treasure trove, and one of its most precious treasures is the body structure and genetic code of various animals and plants in the ecosystem. Whether it is the imitation research of dragonfly wings and the sawtooth of poaceae plants in the lifeless era, or the research and manufacturing of modern martial arts and magical tools, the development of new spiritual pills, etc., a large amount of reference is made to the structure and materials of animal and plant evolution in nature. Every new animal and plant has a possibility, which is precious to the immortal sect. According to the regulations of the Xianmen Library, for every complete specimen of unknown flora and fauna submitted, 1 point can be earned. The role of points in the Xianmen Library is enormous and can be mainly divided into 2 purposes. One way is to exchange library points for guidance and QA from advanced cultivators. It's not the kind of QA that you casually say when you're in a good mood to help you understand, but the kind of QA that you carefully and meticulously try your best to understand under the supervision of the array spirit computer. Secondly, if there are enough likes for 10,000 points, the central array spirit computer can create a limited level cultivation method tailored for a certain cultivator. Talent. If there is a cultivation technique that perfectly matches someone, even if their aptitude is poor, and they practice techniques that perfectly match, their every move naturally meets the highest requirements of the cultivation technique, then how can they not be geniuses? This is the charm of developing the unknown world. Jiangding reserves 1 drone to hover and controls the other 3 drones to scatter in 3 directions, with a distance of about 5 kilometers between each drone. Designate a safety zone with a radius of at least 10 kilometers. Architecture, human traces. Jiangding's heart tightened. In the view of the drone, a winding and small mountain path appears. At the end of the path are several mud embryo grass houses, with several large holes on the roof. You can see tall weeds and miscellaneous trees inside, as well as a broken mud sculpture Buddha head. Jiangding has no intention of contacting humans for the time being. Language proficiency is a big issue. Quickly, all 3 drones flew to the designated location without making any further discoveries. Kang. The long sword unsheathed and slashed diagonally at the sudden emergence of a bright red snake head, evenly dividing its body in half. Unknown snakes, mortal beasts. The tactical helmet warning arrived late. Jiangding frowned and said, after all, it is a civilian item with low accuracy, and there are omissions in monitoring small organisms. I feel regretful again, this is an unknown creature that does not record information in the Xianmen library. If captured, it can earn 1 point. Not having a container is a problem, it's best to buy a sturdy specimen box, otherwise it will be troublesome if it harms people. Unfortunately, there is no money left, not a penny. Jiangding's gaze was attracted by a dark green grass with multiple forked leaves under the snake corpse, and he pulled it into the focus of the camera. Unknown plant, can be named. Forked grass. Jiangding casually said that compared to animals, plants are easier to collect and safer, but it is important to ensure that their roots, leaves, stems, and other components are fully intact. Draw a sword, cut off a thigh-thick tree, and then cut it into pieces of wooden boards to keep as a specimen box. Jiangding carefully dug up the root system, skimmed off the soil bit by bit, and then gathered the stems and leaves. This is a delicate process, and the entire process should not be sudden, breaking the roots, stems or leaves. For a long time, complete specimens were collected and fixed one by one on thin wooden boards with small wooden forks. 21 minutes, 1 point. Jiangding glanced at the clock of the tactical helmet and silently calculated, even if you don't sleep or rest, you don't need to go to various places to collect. It will take at least 6 months to accumulate 10,000 points. Not to mention that many plants' roots, stems, and leaves are far more developed than small grass. 21 minutes is not enough for collection, and the total time spent in the forest may not be even 4.5 years. Despite this, Jiangding did not stop, but instead searched for another grass plant to start digging. Compared to the hopeless cultivation in the past, the feeling of getting a little closer to the goal is great, and he doesn't feel bored either. After digging for more than 4 hours, the sun was shining at noon and the weather gradually became hot and dry. Jiangding can still bear it, but it's already over 10 o'clock at home, and if she doesn't go home, her mother may have to report to the police. Open your eyes. Night falls outside the window, neon lights flicker, and the entrance of the first hospital in the city is still bustling. Jiangding glanced at the stack of specimen boards held in his arms, revealing a look of contemplation. Inheriting the legacy of the previous civilization era and experiencing multiple civil wars, the Immortal sect has made many efforts in equality today. Even high-level cultivators who can burn mountains and seas cannot deprive a mortal of their life. It's either arbitrary or cannot be deprived. As long as he doesn't break the law, doesn't engage in any aggressive behavior, for any reason, and doesn't attract public attention, high-level cultivators cannot kill the weakest mortal. If violated, the central array spirit computer created by ancient sages will let the lawbreakers know what power is and what power is. Even cultivators who transform into gods cannot affect the program logic of the central array spirit computer and view anyone's privacy. Unless it is destroyed. Place 14 specimen boards on the ground. Jiangding takes out his phone, enters the Xianmen library, clicks on the application to submit newly discovered plant specimens, hoping to remain anonymous and confidential, and then sits on the bed to rest. For the central array spirit computer, he trusts it, and such a high score in ideological and moral character is not a joke. Dong, dong. Haw. A few minutes later, the sound of birds pecking lightly on the window came from outside. Jiangding opened the window and a palm-sized emerald bird lifted its invisibility and flew into the room. Its claws have a specimen box that is half a person high, which is very incongruous with its small body. Jiangding let go of his heart. This little guy is named Kingfisher and is the messenger of the Central Array Spirit Computer and various Array Spirit Computers. They usually live on the main host of the Central Array Spirit Computer, Shenmu Futian Banyan and the branches of various regions. Haw! The little emerald bird urged. Jiangding felt a bit unhappy and had a feeling of being forced to work overtime after work. He quickly opened the specimen box and placed 14 specimen boards one by one. Thank you very much for your hard work. Ah! The little emerald bird glanced at him and grabbed the specimen box. Its body and specimen box became transparent and disappeared from the window. Jiangding took off his helmet, took a light breath, took off his camouflage suit, gloves, and shoes, changed into his usual school uniform, and then put the 3 drones back into the cardboard box one by one. There is also an unmanned aircraft floating in the sky of a different world. Jiangding needs 24-hour intelligence on that area, so when he crosses again, it will be dangerous if someone ambushes somewhere. The detection accuracy of civilian drones can only be said to be useful, and it is estimated that they can easily avoid covering themselves with mud. Zhaoshuyuan.com checkout. It didn't attract much attention. The hotel was bustling with people of all kinds all day long. If everyone was curious about something special, then the front desk wouldn't have enough brain. Returning home, my mother had indeed returned and watched TV with Jiang Yuan. Lin Wanxiu said with a stern expression, "Ding ding, where have you been? You're coming back so late." Fortunately, I took a shower in the hotel before and there was no mud or sweat on my body. I went to the park with my classmates to play. Mom! He's lying. Jiang Yuan shouted, afraid that the world wouldn't be chaotic. He never played with any classmates until after 11 p.m. before. Jiangding ignored her, hugged the cardboard box, quickly walked to his room to put things away, went to the refrigerator to get a bottle of drink, and sat next to Lin Wanxiu. Lin Wanxiu is a technician at the Rongcheng iron and steel plant, with a perfect level of internal energy and a relatively high salary. However, he works very hard and often needs to work overtime until 8 or 9 o'clock. Of course, giving birth to a young man like Jiangding, Lin Wanxiu naturally looks gentle and beautiful. It is said that when Lin Wanxiu and Jiangding's father Jiang Chaoyang were at school, they were jokingly called the school flower and school grass, and were seen as a perfect match. They eventually got married. As for the later situation, we can only sigh, as the fairy tales of the princess and prince only exist in the book. Ding ding, there may be danger outside too late. Lin Wanxiu looked at Jiangding with worry, hesitating to speak. Mom, don't worry, the security in Rongcheng is still very good, Jiangding promised. Next time someone else plays too late, I'll come back early. The family spoke for a while before getting up and returning to their room. In the past, Lin Wanxiu and Jiang Yuan were already asleep at 11 p.m., but now they are waiting for Jiangding on purpose and are already exhausted. Chapter 5. Temples. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 6.30 in the morning. Jiangding opened his eyes. There is some soreness in the limbs and knees, but the effect is not significant. Getting out of bed, getting dressed, picking up the practice sword placed next to the bed, Jiangding left the house lightly. The sky was slightly cool, and at this time, the workers were still sleeping soundly. Apart from the retired elderly exercising, there were only a few figures on the streets of the community, including the breakfast shop owner and the sanitation worker Miao Miao. The park was even more so. Found an unmanned flower bed. Kang. A bright silver sword light suddenly appeared, taking itself as the point, cutting out an almost regular circular shape. Preparatory. Sword spreading. In the quiet park, Jiangding felt an inexplicable feeling in his heart. The preparatory move may not be a sword move specifically emphasized, but should be a state of orderly relaxation outside of wartime, which can be instantly tense when needed. Arm sword style. With a change in sword style, 639 muscles rotate and turn like flowing water, concentrating the force of countless small muscles towards the force of larger muscles, and finally converging towards the arm holding the sword. The speed of sword light only increases by a fraction. Step sword style. The excessive gathering of power was not imbalanced, and the left foot shifted diagonally. The body was like a ghost, and with a sword, a fallen leaf was cut in half, with a smooth fracture. Dirty sword style. Sword after sword, the silver sword light appeared and disappeared. A light blue transparent figure appeared in Jiangding's mind. Muscles were mechanical formulas of different sizes, rotating and converging at different angles to obtain a total value that was constantly changing at a moment. The twisting direction of any muscle could change the size of the final value. Turn, harmonize, run, hide. With a silver sword light, its sharpness is restrained. A lot smoother. Jiangding held the hilt of his sword and exclaimed in surprise. In the past, although he was diligent and his teachers pointed out the direction, practicing swordsmanship was always separated by a layer of mist, and no matter how he practiced, it was just a mechanical imitation of the guidance of the array spirit computer. But just now, with each sword strike, a hint of inspiration emerged, and the sword style was incredibly smooth. Kang. As he drew his sword, the sword light danced and even made a mocking sound of the blade cutting through the air, completing a set of sword moves. It's not an illusion. Jiangding took a deep breath and touched the rusty sword tip in his pocket. Even without real-time display in the practice room, he could clearly feel that his eagle flying sword technique had made a small progress. Heavy treasure. This is definitely a great opportunity. Practicing swordsmanship for nearly an hour, collect the sword and go home. The sky has completely brightened, and the streets are bustling with people. The entire city has fully regained its vitality. When he returned home, Jiang Yuan had already woken up, yawning and washing up, with messy hair. Lin Wanqiu was preparing breakfast. Jiangding took a shower, changed his clothes, prepared his backpack, and sat in front of the dining table. "Mom, brother, where are my red and white shoes?" Jiang Yuan ran back and forth with messy hair, and his slippers made a trampling sound. Jiangding closed his eyes and remained calm, ignoring her. "Look at you." Lin Wanqiu placed breakfast on the table, found a pair of shoes from Jiang Yuan's room, and handed them to her to tidy her hair. Helplessly, she said, "Can you learn from your brother? He wakes up at 6:30 every day and does everything well. He is a pervert." Jiang Yuan rolled his eyes. After breakfast, the family went to their respective places at the bus stop. "I changed to a new bus driver today, without taking a detour, and walked straight through the place where the accident happened yesterday." Jiangding's pupils contracted. A 7-story small building was diagonally cut in half, with one end falling to the ground and a smooth fracture like a mirror. Near the broken building is a series of deep pits several meters wide, radiating in shape and completely glazed to the point where one can occasionally see a faint bright red color. It's like flesh and blood being flattened by 10,000 tons of pressure. Even after multiple cleanups, traces can still be seen. Damn it. Foundation building cultivator. Passengers on the bus are discussing extensively, and there is no separation between immortals and immortals on the blue screen. Many aspects of knowledge are open. This kind of trace is somewhat like the cultivators from the Xuanwu Heavenly Palace outside the boundary, who have always been hostile to the immortal sect. It's just their bad luck. Bad luck. Jiangding held the sword hilt and did not participate in their discussion. Arriving at the classroom, put the backpack containing a long sword and pistol into the password box of the classroom. Students are not allowed to hold weapons on campus. Li Juanhao has arrived long ago, brushing through the questions, his eyes fixed on the test paper, and he didn't even glance at the side. The atmosphere in the class seems a bit dull. Jiangding didn't take it seriously and arranged the books, asking softly. He thinks he is already diligent, except for necessary sleep and cooking. He is always practicing swordsmanship and thinking about swordsmanship-related knowledge, but he is still inferior to the other party. Jiangding even doubted whether he slept for 4 hours a day. A classmate from the neighboring class died yesterday. Li Juanhao sighed, his eyes and hands not leaving the exam paper. We mortals are too weak compared to cultivators. Jiangding remained silent. In the morning, there are 2 Chinese and math classes, which discuss runes and principles, formation structures, and the natural rune patterns that exist between heaven and earth. Jiangding was pleasantly surprised to find that a part of the classroom that used to sound like a heavenly book could be understood, without having to force himself again and again to maintain focus, naturally immersing himself in the teacher's lectures. Having lunch in the school cafeteria, practicing swordsmanship for a while, and then taking a nap for an hour. Jiangding insists on maintaining sufficient sleep every day. In the afternoon, there are geography classes and the last 2 fixed practice classes. After school, Jiangding rushed home eagerly, quickly cooked for Jiang Yuan, and then entered the room. Wearing helmets, camouflage suits, drones, gloves, swords, pistols. All checked one by one, enter the alien realm again. Light and shadow transform, and a human figure silently appears in a corner under the tree. Jiangding cautiously scanned the surroundings and did not find any suspicious people or objects. Take a few steps back and hide in a nearby shrub. The camouflage suit changes color and quickly transforms into the shape of a shrub branch. Without careful observation, one cannot even see the figure. At the same time, the tactical helmet was connected to the overhead drone, and nearly 24 hours of footage quickly flashed before my eyes. A deer appeared and disappeared, and several forest wolves followed in its footsteps. The sky gradually turned from scorching sunlight to dusk, followed by night, and the infrared perspective could still monitor the Earth at all times. Stop. Jiangding's gaze is certain. In the surveillance footage, the scene of a woodcutter and a child picking firewood flashed by. There are really people. Jiangding was amazed and uncertain. It wasn't just the footsteps, he found himself able to understand the words of the woodcutter and his companions. That is a language that sounds completely different from Xianmen language and is very difficult to understand, but he can understand it without any obstruction, and he can feel that he should be able to speak it too, which is very magical. Indeed, it is a precious treasure. Jiangding secretly rejoiced. In addition to the woodcutter, several people wearing weapons passed by the dilapidated temple and rested for a period of time. Anyway, specimens still need to be collected, which is currently the only visible stable benefit. After working hard for 2 hours, braving the scorching sun, I was able to extract 8 plant specimens proficiently. After turning them in, I could earn 8 points, far from reaching 10,000 points. One day counts as 16 points, and 10,000 library points are required. In the past 2 years, I missed the college entrance examination. The college entrance examination is the greatest opportunity for Xianmen citizens without backgrounds to embark on the path of immortality, with only one chance in their lifetime. One step into it, one is excellent enough to even receive treatment comparable to that of a named disciple of Yuanying. If missed, the path to immortality will be cut off, and for a lifetime, it will serve as the cornerstone of the immortal sect and shine brightly. Even if the heavy treasure is in hand, the difficulty of the immortal road will increase by at least 10 times or more. This won't work. After hesitating for a moment, Jiangding took the processed specimen, tactical helmet, backpack and other items home, contacted Little Emerald Bird to retrieve them, and then charged the drone that was about to run out of battery. Wear contact lenses, confirm that you can receive images of 3 drones in the sky normally, receive the pistol in a concealed pocket and replace it with a pre-prepared wig. Jiangding's camouflage clothing rapidly changed in color and style, eventually forming an ancient-style blue long shirt with a fixed color that no longer changes with the environment. Finally, looking around, Jiangding left here. Yes, he plans to make contact with the local indigenous people. There is a risk in this way, but if you miss the college entrance examination and cannot be admitted to the cultivation department, you still have to serve in the military and be stationed at a military base outside the Immortal Gate. At that time, you will also face risks if you lack strength. This is the obligation of every adult citizen and cannot escape. Dongling Mountain is steep and treacherous, spanning several states. From time to time, there are old ginseng medicines and rare exotic beasts appearing. This has attracted countless medicinal gatherers and people from the martial arts world to go deep into it. If they are lucky enough to pick rare treasures, various guilds, martial arts schools, sects, and even the elders in the prefect's mansion will purchase them at a high price and soar to the sky. This dilapidated temple is the last resting place to enter Qingling Mountain, and many herb pickers and martial artists who come and go choose to rest here for a while. The sound of footsteps caught the attention of several people inside the temple. A handsome young man walked slowly in, with dark long hair reaching his waist, dressed in a blue shirt and cloth shoes. The fabric was smooth and delicate, and he wore a black scabbard sword at his waist. His whole body is spotless, without any trace of wind, frost, or dust on his way. He exudes a charming demeanor, which is out of place with the environment here. Which noble young master came out to play? The crowd inside the dilapidated temple glanced back and withdrew their gaze. When going out, don't be too busy. Jiangding originally wanted to say something, but then he shut up and silently found a corner to sit down. He glanced around. There are not many people, 7 or 8 people, roughly divided into 2 groups. On the left are Yi and Sun, wearing linen shorts, torn and patched, with a black and thin face, often weathered by wind and frost. Beside them are 2 medicine baskets. On the right are 5 or 6 great men, all wearing weapons. They are all black and powerful, with the most prominent being the bearded man in the middle. A refined steel crescent axe placed on the ground in front of them sparkles with cold light. On the open ground, 2 bonfires were burning with a crackling sound, inside which some dried meat and sweet potatoes were grilled. Red light flashes several times in contact lenses. 3 people in the inner Qi realm. Jiangding glanced at the bearded man and the 2 people beside him, slightly gripping the sword handle and feeling a little nervous. This is a powerful figure beyond his realm. After a moment of silence, the voices inside the dilapidated temple resumed. Lin Air, look at this blue butterfly wing with fine blue stripes. It must be intact to be sold for money, and so must the ginseng. The roots need to be dug out bit by bit. Beside the fire, the old farmer held a pair of butterfly wings in his hand and whispered something, while his blushing grandson nodded from time to time. On the other side, the big men were as loud as cows, laughing heartily from time to time. The 7 profound gates of Dongling Mansion were unexpectedly destroyed by the Golden Blade sect. This is a major sect that has been around for hundreds or even thousands of years. Perhaps its history is even longer than that of the current Wulin leader Prajnaparamita Temple and Qingyo Temple. It's a pity. What's a pity? What's the use of living for a long time? Jianghu people ultimately have to rely on their strength to speak. Yes, that Golden Blade sect is truly one of the 6 sects in the world. Just the eldest disciple, Wei Xian, the 9th-ranked sea-splitting blade on the Dragon and Phoenix list, can slaughter one sect with just one move. He enjoys the countless gold, silver, jewelry, and martial arts secrets accumulated by the 7 profound schools over the years, and even captures beautiful women to play with recklessly. This is the true hero of the world. Amidst the laughter, someone took out a gourd of wine and lit it with fire. You took a sip, I took a sip. Beauty. I heard that Feishue Fairy, ranked 98th on the Dragon and Phoenix list, comes from the 7 profound schools. I went to the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com and heard that her skin is as white as snow and her temperament is as immortal. Perhaps she has already been taken into her room by Wei Xian. Not only that, I heard her mother's beauty is even more impressive, and she has already been captured. This beast. A look of longing appeared in the eyes of a group of big men. Jiangding muttered to himself upon hearing this. Killing and exterminating one's family, taking away one's wife and daughter, and plundering one's family wealth, are they all right in the eyes of these people? Do the officials of this world also ignore it? Drop, drop. Suddenly, several red dots appeared in the contact lenses, rapidly increasing to over 10. Jiangding's heart was shaken. Looking intently, 5 kilometers away, a group of people gradually entered the drone reconnaissance range, with dozens of people, and more than 10 people triggered the drone alarm. They quickly surrounded from all directions, and the target seemed to be this dilapidated temple. Did I expose it? Jiangding panicked, but he didn't do anything. No. Impossible, if I were exposed, it wouldn't be just a mortal warrior chasing after me, it should just be a coincidence. Jiangding quickly calmed down, stood up, and turned to the entrance of the dilapidated temple. Everyone in the temple was surprised. This person is so strange that he doesn't say a word or take a sip of water when he comes in. The sweet potatoes were ripe, and the old farmer peeled off the burnt black skin of the ground, revealing the fragrant flesh and handed it to his grandson. He roasted a piece of dry food and swallowed it whole. Jiangding paused in his footsteps, feeling compassion in his heart. My father.in.law, if there's anything at home, you should go back as soon as possible. After speaking, regardless of the other party's answer, quickly leave this place. The old farmer was taken aback. The eyes of the big men around flickered, with occasional cold glances coming over, but in the end, nothing was done. Chapter 6. Flying Snow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the temple. Jiangding did not choose the main road and found a thicket to crawl in. Although there are nearly 100 people, they are very small within a vast area of 5 kilometers, and they are easily separated from them after walking a distance. Their encirclement route has not changed. The target is not me. Jiangding felt relieved in his heart, but still decided to keep moving away. He noticed that these people were divided into 8 or 9 small teams, each with a fierce hunting dog, seemingly tracking something. It was better not to approach and cause misunderstandings. Hoo-hoo, the mountain wind howled, and there were faint sounds of breaking through the air. Hoo! Jiangding drinks low. The sword is unsheathed, obliquely drawing a regular arc, blocked halfway by a snow-white sword, emitting a sharp sound. Exhibition sword style. Jiangding only felt a tingling force strike, and his sword-holding arm trembled slightly. It was quickly dispersed by the fully honed muscles in various parts of his body, and he was unharmed for a moment. Internal power realm warrior. But compared to classmates, the other party's internal force is very weak, with an intensity of less than 1/3. A figure in a white dress flew backwards, spitting blood from its mouth, leaving plum blossoms on its towering chest dress. How could that be? You're clearly not a martial artist in the inner power realm. The opponent spat out blood and couldn't believe it. One touch is crushing. Although there are injuries on oneself, there is internal power in one's body. Even a martial artist with innate divine power should strike and kill instantly, which goes against common sense. Why attack me? Jiangding held his sword and slowly stepped forward, his coccyx trembling uncontrollably with a hint of killing intent. Civil drones are too unreliable. He has never encountered such a thing before. From childhood to adulthood, with the guidance of teachers and competition among classmates, even if there is unhappiness on a daily basis, they always think of intentionally beating each other up. There has never been such a cold situation where life and death are divided when meeting. Why? The woman was taken aback and looked at the young man in green in front of her. She was pleasantly surprised and said, "Are you not from the Golden Blade sect?" Jiangding is still approaching step by step. Young master. It's my family's fault, I mistook you for the one who chased me. The woman has snow-white skin, baby fat on her face, and a cute appearance. She is about 1.5 meters tall. The clothes are dirty, but the face and hair are clean, creating a contrast. My name is Gong Xiyu, a disciple of the 7 Xianmen sect. The Golden Blade sect destroyed my sect and killed my entire family. I had an extreme reaction at the moment, and I hope you can forgive me. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she clasped her hands together, pleading. Jiangding paused in his footsteps. If it's true, then the other party is also too pitiful. From the perspective of a drone. A large number of black-clothed men embroidered with golden knives on their chests once again changed their course of action and surrounded them in this direction, with hunting dogs barking loudly. Since it was a misunderstanding, then forget it. Jiangding's face changed. He was certain that the target of these black-clothed men was this woman, unwilling to entangle too much, turned around and left, leaving a sentence behind. I suggest you investigate what tracking methods have been used by others, and also consider fleeing this way. A branch was thrown down and fell beside her. Through the drone, it is known that there is a river in that direction, perhaps there is a way out. Thank you very much, young master. Gong Xiyu gratefully said as she stumbled away. She did not doubt it, because the strange person in front of her almost overwhelmed her current strength. If it were an enemy, why bother? Jiangding ran continuously for several kilometers, crossed mountains and ridges, and finally hid in the crown of a large tree. These people are indeed chasing after her. The routes of those black-clad men kept changing, mostly following the woman's route, and quickly disappeared from the drone's observation perspective during the chase. There is no idea of having drones follow and track. Ah, what she said should be true, Jiangding sighed, feeling a surge of pity. But he can't do anything, he's just a small cultivator, and being discovered by any possible local cultivator could put him in danger of life and death. After confirming several times that there was no one nearby, Jiangding left here. In the room, Jiangding opened his eyes. Simple furnishings, with traffic flowing outside and neon lights flashing. Relax the constantly tense heart. After practicing swordsmanship for a while, when my mother and Jiang Yuan returned, the family talked for a while. At 11 o'clock in the evening, Jiangding fell asleep on time. When they arrived at the classroom, the iron cabinet had already been unlocked, and many students were changing into military green camouflage uniforms. Online purchase of the same model, it can be bulletproof, change color, and deform, but this is a public teaching aid for the school and cannot be taken out of the school. It will be returned after graduation. The first 2 classes are about firearms. Jiang Dingfang put away his backpack and casually said. Yes, the last 2 classes are also similar. Li Juanhao changed into a decent camouflage outfit, put on a bulletproof panoramic helmet, and his thin body added a hint of heroism out of thin air. Zhang Dingjun was retired from the military, and being 1 second late would have serious consequences. This guy has dark circles under his eyes and a pale face. It's obvious that he stayed up late to study at least 2 or 3 o'clock yesterday. Jiangding quickly changed his outfit. Dingling dingling. After waiting for a while, at 7:50, the pre-class preparation bell rang. Stand up. On the podium, the squad leader Hua Bing spoke out in a heroic and confident voice. Brush. 32 high school seniors stood up neatly, like nails. First team, let's go. Yes, class monitor. Sun Xiao, who was in the inner Qi realm, saluted and ran slowly out of the classroom first. There were 6 people following from all over the classroom, forming a straight line. The second team. The third team. Jiangding and Li Juanhao quickly followed behind their inner energy classmate Li Hu and ran forward. The three teams are like three lines, from following, to standing side by side, and finally forming a neat square. Each student has the same stride and arm swing, and from a distance, dozens of people look like one person. Classmates in class automatically avoid on both sides. Jogging out of the towering teaching area, the ground began to show barren grass, mixed trees, and sand, with sparse human habitation on both sides. Live fire is often seen here, making it a semi-military exercise area. 1, 2, 1. Not far away, there were also several classmates from the same class jogging forward, but they were not on the same path and quickly switched to another direction. Accelerate, 20 kilometers. Captain Li Hu of the third team shouted loudly on the same team channel. Yes. The blocks began to accelerate, from jogging to running, hunting with the sound of the wind, and the formation changed from neat blocks to scattered ellipses. Jiangding took a light breath, soothing his muscles. A 20-kilometer long run was nothing to him, but running at such a speed for 20 kilometers was also a great burden for him. Li Juanhao's running movements around him have deformed. A gentle breeze swept by. Jiangding turned around and the squad leader Hua Bing led two pure training Qi realm teams of 14 people to easily and impressively catch up. Their pace is not fast, and their frequency is not high, just like taking a walk, without any sweat flowing out. But speed is fast, much faster than him, and in just a moment, he surpassed their team and quickly disappeared in front of everyone. First Order Military Formation. Breeze Formation. Li Juanhao connected to Jiangding's communication and gasped for breath, admiring, "These guys are really not people." "You need to consider your health," Jiangding couldn't help but say, "You stay up late every day, and you don't have enough rest and exercise. How can you improve your martial arts cultivation in this way?" "You don't understand, my martial arts aptitude is too poor, the only way is through cultural classes." Li Juanhao shook his head. "As long as one can be admitted to the cultivation department, there will be high-level cultivators who specialize in refining rare spiritual pills for students in this particular field. Not to mention being a genius, they will at least have better martial arts qualifications than most people. In addition, any student who can be admitted to the martial arts department with a focus on specialized subjects has two tricks, which solves the problem of qualifications and enables them to grow rapidly." After more than 10 minutes, the team began to disconnect. Li Hu and 3 other students from the inner Qi realm quickly disappeared from the eyes of the students in the rear, followed by Jiangding and other peak martial artists from the bone refining realm, and finally the martial artists from the meat refining realm. Li Juanhao undoubtedly comes at the bottom. Jiangding gasped for breath and ran wildly for an unknown amount of time. In front of him, rows of classmates stood neatly like nails. In front of them was a middle-aged man as strong as a bear, with an invisible aura just standing there. "Report, enter." Zhang Dingjuan's voice was deep and low. Jiangding is listed, still behind Li Hu, and the third team is the sequence designated by the teacher for them. Later, some students joined the list one after another. Dingling. At 8:10 p.m., the alarm in Zhang Dingjuan's hand rang. Jiangding looked around and saw that Li Juanhao had not yet arrived. After 5 or 6 minutes, panting heavily, Li Juanhao arrived late and said weakly, "Report." Zhang Dingjun gave him a cold glance and said, 40 kilometers after class, I don't care what your plans are, what plans you have. If you don't meet the standards with me, it means you're not qualified. Yes. Li Juanhao's face turned bitter. There is no danger in danger. The Immortal sect has spells and professional treatment methods, such as swelling and bleeding in the knee joint. Wearing a cane for a few days is inevitable. You can move freely first. Zhang Dingjun looked at the Qi training cultivators such as Hua Bing. Yes, instructor. Wow. Zhang Dingjun lifted a thick camouflage cloth. Under the sunlight and the reflection of metal, heavy machine guns over 2 meters long stood on the ground, with piles of ammunition boxes beside them, and a strong smell of gun oil spreading. On the battlefield, there are no handguns or submachine guns, and these toys cannot even break defense and cultivate immortals. Jiangding picked up a heavy machine gun weighing over 200 pounds with one hand and casually pulled the bolt. This is the only companion you can rely on to join the military and take the college entrance examination in the future. The Type 89 heavy machine gun is made of N2702 broken alloy, with a half-magic weapon rune engraved on the barrel. The Falcon 1 sight has a caliber of 12.5 mm, a total length of 2,140 mm, a theoretical firing rate of 600 per minute, and a theoretical range of 5 km. It can penetrate the regular shield of the 9th layer cultivator of Qi at that distance. If you can hit the shield of the foundation cultivator, you can also consume a small amount of their mana. Jiangding knows it's not that simple. The 9th level cultivators of Qi cultivation will avoid, hide, and cross 5 kilometers as long as they are not as foolish as a pig, and it is very difficult to hit them with divine consciousness. Not to mention the 9 levels of Qi cultivation, they are the first and second levels. Learn an optical invisibility spell, and after entering, you can kill a large number of warriors with just one fireball spell. The use of heavy machine guns is in large-scale battlefields. The infantry's Lingzi radar searches for enemies, heavy artillery bombards in advance, and dense barrage shooting is the way to fight against cultivators. The use of firearms is very simple, but it is not easy to achieve precise shooting within 5,000 meters, which exceeds the visual limit of an ordinary human body. Jiangding pointed to the small boxes next to the ammunition box. This requires the use of drones. We will distribute military-grade Swallow.1 to you. In addition, you also need to practice martial arts, Vajrasil, and Qian. The former ensures the stability of your shooting, and even if you run and shoot, your upper body is still like Mount Taishan. Go to www.zhaoshuyuan.com, which ensures your shooting accuracy. A force can be divided into thousands, and you can still shoot a squirrel accurately even if you are 5,000 meters away. Having 2 martial arts skills, one can become a qualified immortal sect soldier at a young age. It's just that simple. Jiangding paused. Now, hold a gun, 1 per person, 2 bullet chains, and 1 drone. Yes, instructor. Jiangding quickly stepped forward, picked up the Type 89 heavy machine gun and carried it behind his back. The weight of 125 kilograms made his footsteps sink, and then picked up 2 plates of ammunition chains and crossed them on his chest, each with 100 bullets. Swallow.1, along with the box, is the size of a basketball and has hooks that are fastened to the waist. It takes 7 seconds to return to the team and stand still. Quietly glancing left and right, each carrying heavy machine guns and ammunition, standing straight and silent. Disperse, raise your gun, Jiangding said again. Yes. The crowd quickly separated, each standing more than 10 meters apart. They raised their guns with both hands, pointed diagonally at the sky, and formed a lunge with their legs. Jiangding silently imagined a mountain peak descending from the sky and falling into the arms of a giant. The massive gravity struck and it was scattered throughout the giant's limbs. Finally, it joined the earth with its legs and took root here. The giant in my mind is divided into lines, how the force is dispersed, how it converges, which muscle bears how much force, and how much force should be used to maximize the elimination of external forces in the entire body. 20 minutes. Jiangding left a sentence and walked up to his classmates from the Qi refining realm, such as Hua Bing, when a faint voice came through. Practicing the 3 basic spells of Qi realm, electromagnetic wave response, enchantment, and soul control, you. Shortly thereafter, the roar of tanks starting up drove the Type 59 tanks into the distance. Chapter 7. Heavy Machine Guns. You are listening at novelfull.audio. More than 10 minutes later, Jiangding's arms began to tremble and ache. There was a loud bang of firearms landing in his ear, and he picked them up under the instructor's strong drink. The weight of 100 kilograms that I didn't care about at first has now become as heavy as a mountain. Jiangding didn't think about the physical pain and tried to concentrate his mind on the dynamic visualization in his mind. Muscles worked in an orderly manner like gears, and mechanical formulas flickered and disappeared one by one. Gradually, entering a state of emptiness. The soreness in my body is gone, I'm not thinking about anything, only the mechanical giant in my mind quietly and orderly rotates. Time's up. Amidst the constant thud of heavy machine guns landing, Jiangding opened his eyes and his body trembled. The sensation of a large amount of muscle soreness surged like a tide, almost overwhelming him. It took him a while to recover and slowly put down the heavy machine gun. Sleeping in bed, Jiangding can do it. He didn't even finish for 20 minutes. The diamond seal has not undergone any deformation, and it seems to be stronger than some students in the inner Qi realm. Jiangding received a lot of surprised looks. Not bad, Jiangding generously praised, your diamond seal should have broken through. Remember this feeling, it is helpful for you to step into the inner Qi realm. Yes, instructor. Jiangding shouted loudly, feeling happy in his heart. He knew that this was related to the broken sword tip, which greatly enhanced his understanding. The spiritual flash that had appeared multiple times before but was not sure of was captured this time. Now, Tibetan style. After the classmates relaxed for a while, Jiangding roared again. Jiangding stood still and made a long sword move, slowly closing his eyes. The hidden sword style among the 9 major sword styles. The ability to relax muscles, accumulate strength, and conceal breath is much stronger than any massage that clears muscles and bones. Other classmates also perform various movements, some falsely firing long spears, some hammering to the ground, all of which are variations of the hidden sword style. The difference is that some people quickly enter a state, their muscles begin to relax and get some rest, while others just close their eyes and act like a frame, occasionally twisting their bodies, causing internal friction. Jiangding glanced at Li Juanhao and the others, frowning to himself without saying anything. He knew that these few people were able to enter number 1 middle school. Since their martial arts cultivation was poor, they should have some level of proficiency in cultural courses, but he still didn't like it. Collect. Amidst the cheers, Jiangding opened his eyes and his sore arms and knee joints were relieved, temporarily unharmed. Next, it's live fire shooting. I set a target at 4,500 meters and each person is limited to 200 rounds of ammunition. Jiangding paused in his tone and then said sternly, no matter what the situation is, you must not aim the gun at your classmates. No matter what the reason is, no matter how strong your reasons are, you have suffered immense injustice. 1 warning, 2 demerits, 3 direct orders to drop out. Do you understand? Yes. Instructor. Jiangding and others answered loudly. Free movement. Jiangding waved his hand, his figure flashed, and he flew towards the side of the Qi training realm student with his wind control technique. Jiangding picked up the heavy machine gun on the ground, walked towards the shooting point, and casually opened the Swallow .1 drone box at his waist. A swallow the size of a palm lay at the bottom of the box, its eyes shining like jewels. Bluetooth connection panoramic helmet. Start. Jiangding clicks the start button in the helmet view. Swallow .1's eyes moved and quickly completed a self-check, flapping its wings and flying into the sky. At the same time, images appeared one after another in the panoramic helmet. Compared with the drones purchased online by Jiangding, it has higher accuracy and better image quality. Even ants crawling on the ground can be clearly seen. In addition, even fixed hidden targets can be identified and marked. Quickly, from 4,500 meters away, targets came into view, ranging in size from standing, crawling, or hiding behind big trees. I really envy you all. Li Juanhao weakly dragged his machine gun and followed behind. It was difficult for him to hold the gun and stand still. Tibetan training was not enough, and he couldn't rest. This kind of course was a torture for him. I still say the same thing, follow a regular routine and exercise regularly. Jiangding glanced at him and said, refining skin and meat is the beginning of martial arts, but where is it difficult to break through? Persisting will bring rewards. Besides, your high cultural score is very helpful for practicing martial arts. Li Juanhao's face showed hesitation. Jiangding arrived at the shooting point and lay down. He placed the heavy machine gun, loaded the ammunition chain, and aimed his left eye at the sight, aiming at the first target. Hold your breath, the diamond seal flows throughout your body, stabilizing your body and adjusting your firearms with 1,000 threads. Xianxia currently only cultivates the 10 to a proficient level, which can divide one force into 10 parts. Bang! Amidst the flames and smoke, the bullet exited the chamber and flew towards the distance at a speed of over 2,000 meters per second. After 2.5 seconds, it arrived at the target. Off target. Wind speed. Jiangding speaks to himself. At this point, he really envied the cultivators for having specialized spells to control firearms, and their divine sense and magic gave them powerful control accuracy, allowing them to easily achieve a perfect score of 40 points for light weapons. The direction that cultivators strive for is tank driving and control, naturally standing at the end of the warrior's journey. Bang! The second shot, the third shot finally hit the target with the sixth shot, shattering its head to pieces. After slowing down, he aimed at a target that was constantly moving irregularly with the speed of the wind control technique used by the third-level cultivator of qi cultivation. He kept pulling the trigger, and the roar was incessant, causing the shell to fly away. This is even more difficult, as it took over 50 rounds of ammunition to shatter it. This. Jiangding frowned. The true qi training 3-layer cultivators are far more cunning than the target. They have divine sense, a coverage distance of about 30 meters, and a long range spell. Even heavy machine gun bullets can be seen clearly at several times the speed of sound, predicting in advance to avoid hiding. Unparalleled. With a sigh, Jiangding continued to practice while his classmates around him kept shooting, causing a cloud of sand and dust to rise. Next, I dare not waste so much. After one shot, I stopped and slowly pondered, carefully comprehending the huge recoil of the heavy machine gun. I resolved it with the diamond seal, observed wind speed, humidity, and other conditions, and then adjusted the heavy machine gun bit by bit with 1,000 threads. The practice of two martial arts skills is so repetitive and boring. More than 2 hours later. Around 11 o'clock in the morning, during the fourth class, Zhang Dingjun returned from his classmate in the practice qi realm and held a fine steel long axe in his hand, which was over 2 meters high. He called his classmates over and formed a circle. Cold weapons, knives, guns, swords, halberds, and sticks are not very useful on the battlefield, but only in a few special situations. Zhang Dingjun picked up a long axe with one hand and said, "But the enemies of the Immortal sect are using them, and they are mainstream. The power of magical weapons such as flying swords, shields, and water droplets is equally terrifying. Therefore, Xianmen has set up an elective course on cold weapons, which may not be necessary, but it should be understood that the total score for the college entrance examination is 40 points. Preparatory." Zhang Dingjun made a diagonal move with a long axe. The technique of practicing the combination of attack and strike in the eagle takeoff decision is derived from it, and many martial arts skills of the Immortal sect are derived from it, such as my gibbon axe. Buzz. The long axe slashed obliquely, causing the air to explode and creating a strong wind that spread around, causing the clothes of the surrounding classmates to hunt and make a sound. Then, it slashed horizontally to extinguish the once again strong wind and remained motionless in all directions. Next, you can freely choose to practice with your weapon and hit your torso to win. Jiangding lifted another camouflage cloth, which contained a pile of cold weapons. Jiangding stepped forward and without hesitation chose a steel sword that was about meters long. With the sword hilt in hand, there is an inexplicable sense of security in my heart. The classmates also chose their own cold weapons, all kinds of them, especially Li Juanhao, whose main battle cold weapon was actually a pair of meteor hammers. Everyone selected their weapons, but did not practice them immediately. Their eyes shot at Jiangding one after another. Jiangding. Sun Xiao, the captain of the first team, held a 2-meter steel gun and smiled faintly. Do you want to do it? He is in the realm of small internal energy, and is considered the highest among the martial artists in the class. The inner chi realm challenged the bone refining realm, but the surrounding classmates were not surprised and gathered around. Sun Xiao still needs to challenge. How many times has he lost? The same goes for everyone else. Those who practice martial arts in the inner chi realm can't even defeat the bone refining skill. Nonsense, why don't you go up? You don't even have internal energy. Compared to endless practice learning, machine gun repetitive shooting, or this kind of real sword and real gun combat, can more arouse the passion of young people. With the long sword in hand, Jiangding calmed down and nodded. Okay. Shoo. With the steel gun in hand, it seemed to transform into a winding and swimming snake, rapidly striking 3 times in a row, forming a 3-pointed star light and shooting Jiangding's entire body. Li Juanhao held his breath, and from his perspective, the silver light just flashed by without any reaction time. Ding! Ding! Jiangding drew his sword and a regular arc flickered, accurately pressing against the side wings of the gun tip. His footsteps slid like flowing water, and while unloading most of his strength, he struck the gun tip side again. Step by step, dodged the third thrust and quickly thrust into the inside of the steel gun. Exhibition sword style. Step sword style. Grass. It's this kind of thing again. Even though Sun Zhao's speed and strength are far stronger than him, how can he avoid it? The classmates around who also had swords widened their eyes and refused. Sun Zhao's face sank and he quickly stepped back to find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Suddenly, he stabbed all over his body, and the white light flashed. His speed was not only doubled, but he quickly threw himself into Jiangding's arms. Rebirth gun. Sun Xiao has developed a new martial arts skill. No wonder he has the courage to challenge it, exclaimed Li Juanhao. It's not worth it. It's better to practice eagle takeoff more and move on to the next level. Someone shook their head. Jiangding showed a hint of surprise as he turned sideways. The long sword and the tip of the spear rubbed fiercely against the side wings, causing sparks to flicker and the revolver to go blank. The sword's light flowed like flowing water, moving rapidly against the barrel of the gun, quickly approaching the fingers, and the blade was icy cold. Sun Zhao's face changed and he had to let go, letting it fall to the ground. Before he could do anything, a flash of sword light reached his throat and stopped on his bulletproof camouflage suit. I lost. Sun Xiao took a deep breath. With a flash of silver light, Jiangding withdrew his sword and returned to its sheath, looking around. I lost again, damn it. Abnormal. The classmates around me cursed inwardly, but they didn't dare to step forward, knowing that going up was like being seconds away. I'll do it. Under the pressure of a bone-refining martial artist, Li Hu, the captain of the third team, had no light on his face and picked up a large axe to strike. Ding! Ding ding! After the 5 moves, the long sword stopped at his throat. I'll do it. Another student from the inner chi realm stepped forward and was defeated after a clang. One after another, most of the students went up, mostly using 6 or 7 moves, and sometimes 1 or 2 moves, ending the battle in an extremely fast time. I won't play anymore. Animal. In the end, no one fought against Jiangding anymore, only he chose an open space to practice swordsmanship. Jiangding wandered around and fought in various battles, occasionally giving guidance to correct his classmates' skills in using force. Chapter 8. Colorful Jade. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In my mind, there are countless changes in the combination of muscle and skeletal lines. Jiangding is practicing swordsmanship, with sword light shining like an arc. I practiced the eagle takeoff sword technique, which is the foundation of martial arts. With the help of high intelligence, I made rapid progress and occasionally felt a slight tingling sensation in my spine. Those with lower qualifications and from poor families have the opportunity to turn over. Others may only be proficient in eagle takeoff decision, but if you can practice it to a small, great, or even complete level, you can catch up with those with excellent qualifications and even surpass them. The 9 sword moves passed by one, and finally returned to the Tibetan sword move. Not bad. Jiangding watched for a while and said with great interest, "Your child was born in the Immortal sect and is really talented. If you say you can't become a world-renowned martial arts hero in other worlds." The eagle takeoff decision is just that, careless, similar to its classmates. But in actual combat, swordsmanship is a bit terrifying. He is too embarrassed to say that his ability to seize opportunities is almost as good as his own with the assistance of practicing the 9 layers of divine consciousness. You're just joking now. Jiangding glanced at him and didn't have the same fear of the instructor as other classmates. My 5 spirit roots aptitude, apart from the Immortal sect, would give me a chance. You haven't given up on ascending to immortality yet. This road is too difficult. Jiangding sighed slightly. To transform from ordinary to immortal, even in the Immortal sect, only the top and most outstanding few arrogant figures are qualified. Although Jiangding is not completely mediocre, come on. Even if you miss the college entrance examination, there have been people who have successfully cultivated immortality, Jiangding urged. Dingling not long after, at 12 o'clock, the bell rang for the 4th time after class, and Jiangding left on his own. The other students also returned to school, while those who were closer returned home. Here you are. Li Juanhao looked sad and handed Jiangding a campus card. What do you want? Do you need me to pick you up? Jiangding was not surprised. Starting from now on, this guy's 40 kilometers will be strictly supervised by teaching robots. As long as he doesn't want to drop out, he must complete the instructor's instructions. 1 duck leg, shredded pork and green pepper with green pepper, and a bowl of lever-A vegetable soup from the canteen. I'll take the bus back myself. Farewell to Li Juanhao. Jiangding and his classmates crowded onto the back-to-school bus. Eat and take a nap. After completing 2 ideological and moral education classes, go to the practice room. Jiangding stared at the light blue screen in front of him, revealing a hint of joy. Name: Jiangding, Student ID 124-6215, Realm. Peak of Bone Refining Realm, Last Training Subject. The 68th set of Eagle Takeoff Sword Technique, proficient 51%, compared to 2 days ago, the Eagle Takeoff Sword Technique has skyrocketed by 19%. At this pace, it can break through Xiaocheng in at most 2 weeks, and the bone refining progress can be accelerated by a certain amount. Breaking through the internal Qi realm is no longer just a fantasy. You should know that this is not a martial arts of the martial arts world, but an immortal cultivation method, and it is even more difficult than most low-level cultivation methods and spells. Practicing it as immortal is even more challenging. As far as Jiangding knows, not a single person in the class has mastered the martial arts to a small level. The reason why they take the first step is twofold. Firstly, their qualifications are better than Jiangding's, and secondly, they have various tonics and even spiritual pills to supplement, so their cultivation progress naturally varies. 2 more vertebrae have been quenched and refined. Jiangding looked at the faint blue line figure below the panel. As expected, out of the 24 vertebrae, 5 lumbar vertebrae, 1 sacrum, and 1 coccyx have been quenched and refined. There are still 12 thoracic vertebrae and 7 cervical vertebrae left to complete the cultivation of the entire bone refining realm, naturally breaking through internal qi. There is no bottleneck. The so-called bottleneck is simply insufficient cognition, or problems with muscles, spine, injuries, etc., insufficient exercise without self-awareness, resulting in being stuck in a certain realm. Practicing immortal martial arts with the assistance of array spirits and computers naturally does not lead to such a situation. Calm down for a moment, Jiangding drew his sword and practiced with the assistance of the array spirit computer. The silver sword light danced and flickered. This is actually a great opportunity, equivalent to the clone of the divine transformation power. The clone personally guides and cultivates, otherwise the eagle flying sword technique can be considered as a terrifying difficulty equivalent to the effect of creation, and 99% of young people in the world cannot enter. Therefore, even if there is occasional leakage of cultivation techniques, other cultivation realms cannot replicate it at all. After having dinner with Jiang Yuan, Jiangding locked himself in the room, wore equipment, checked the medication and drone battery, and picked up the panoramic helmet. After hesitating for a moment, Jiangding put it down and put on contact lenses. It's too conspicuous. The light dims and brightens, and what one can see in the field of vision is the vast green mountains. In the early morning, birds chirp and chirp. After collecting more than 10 unknown plant specimens, Jiangding continued to explore outward. Being alone is simply not enough. He needs resources to accelerate his cultivation speed and requires manual collection of specimens, so he can take some risks. In the perspective of the drone, the terrifying scene of nearly 100 people searching the mountains did not reappear, and the mountains and forests returned to their original calmness. Jiangding's gaze fixed and he paused in a corner of the screen, then clicked to zoom in. A white dot appeared on the screen, rapidly expanding. A woman in a white dress was unconscious by the river, with a pale face. She drifted from somewhere but was stopped by the bushes by the river and did not continue to drift. Her chest clothes were stained red with blood, and her dress was torn and tattered. Has she died? Jiangding sighed inwardly, this world doesn't seem very safe. The woman is 3 or 4 kilometers away from here, possibly hiding in the water for a long time and avoiding the pursuit of those black-clothed people. Jiangding grasped the hilt of his sword and no longer hesitated. Be cautious all the way, always paying attention to targets that drones may overlook. Fortunately, there were no unexpected incidents. Grab her dress, effortlessly lift it up and place it on the ground. I touched my forehead, my tentacles were cold, my stomach was slightly bulging, and there was a terrifying wound on my waist. I could almost see my internal organs, which were black and smelled foul and rotten. It was obvious that I had been poisoned. But upon careful observation, the chest was still slightly undulating, taking a few seconds to move. Still alive. Jiangding no longer hesitated, cleared the foreign object between her mouth and nose, found a few stones to place under her stomach, and used medical emergency techniques to press her chest with both hands, repeating the process. Every citizen of the Immortal sect is a potential soldier, and these types of battlefield first aid methods have been trained. After a few minutes, wow! Gong Xiaoyu suddenly vomited a puddle of water grass, half-cooked meat, and some sticky substances flowing down her neck. She reluctantly opened her eyes and saw a strange boy constantly pressing on her chest. Bandits! Gong Xiaoyu's face turned red in an instant, mobilizing the remaining bit of internal strength. Her left hand casually touched a pointed stone and threw it at the person in front of her. Kang! A snowy long sword appeared at some point, bypassing her weak arm and reaching her throat, causing her movements to pause uncontrollably. Jiangding looked at her calmly without speaking. Young master, I'm sorry, but for a moment. Gong Xiaoyu reacted and the stone in her hand fell to the ground, stuttering, thank you for saving me again. Jiangding withdrew his sword. This guy was chased to the point of dying, and this extreme reaction was normal. Grasped the hand she put down and sensed for a moment. Ah! Gong Xiu let out a cry, without resistance, don't turn your head. Your heart and pulse are both very weak. Your physical condition is very poor. Jiangding put down her hand and said, can your internal energy eliminate toxins and stop bleeding in your body? He sees this person as a female classmate who is so injured that he doesn't have any messy thoughts. No, I can't. I don't have the strength. Gong Xiu used her internal power slightly, and a hint of despair appeared in her eyes. She calmly said, my meridians have been severely damaged, and my internal power is almost non-existent. I am also poisoned by the Golden Blade sect. I am dying. Thank you very much for saving my life, young master. I have passed down the 7 profound schools for 1,000 years, but now. Eat this. Jiangding interrupted her self-pity and threw out the oral version of Yunnan Baiyao. Try it, you're going to die anyway. Indeed, let's give it a try. Yunnan Baiyao is a widely used medicine that can treat external injuries, detoxify, kill bacteria, and have various effects, but they are all average, and the effect is hard to say. Unless it's a spiritual pill. But Jiangding only has one. His mother bought the Tianwang life-preserving pill with half a year's salary. If it doesn't work, it's her fate. Thank you very much for your kindness, young master. Gong Xiu whispered, it's just a pity that I've been poisoned to the bone and blood, and it's hard for me to turn back to heaven. Sob. A dying person, look for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Every second is a lifeline. Seeing her still chattering, Jiangding didn't say anything. He grabbed her cheek with one hand and opened Yunnan Baiyao oral liquid with the other. Gong Xiu only felt a warm current flowing into her abdomen, dispersing all her limbs and bones. Her numb meridians and waist wounds were tingling. What kind of divine medicine is this? Gong Xiu widened her eyes, unheard of. Jiangding shook his head, put away the medicine bottle with the trademark and instructions, and put it in his pocket. He speculated that perhaps for this world, this is a brand new antidote, because the bacteria have no resistance and the effect is particularly good. It can be said that the Immortal sect also cultivates immortals. Rest and heal. Seeing what else she had to say, Jiangding waved his hand to stop. Gong Xiu gave him a grateful glance, sat cross-legged, closed her eyes, and resumed her breathing. Jiangding stood up, took out a small shovel and walked towards a small grass that he had never seen before. He carefully scraped open the soil and dug out every strand of roots and stems bit by bit. After digging one plant, I went to search for the next one. The sun gradually rose, shining on his face, and beads of sweat reflected the light. After digging for more than 3 hours in a row, Jiangding saw the woman sitting cross-legged on the ground still awake. He walked to the shallow water by the river and stood silently. It's like a statue, motionless for more than 10 minutes. Kang. Suddenly, a beam of sword light flashed through and stabbed a carp the size of an arm, unable to escape no matter how hard it struggled. The resources are so abundant. Jiangding sighed. With a light flick of his sword, the carp flew into the air, and 3 sword lights flashed past. The scales, gills, and internal organs of the fish were thrown away, and he even scraped a black membrane on his hand. Sword forked carp, then found a withered tree the size of a bowl and dragged it back. Chapter 9. 0. Step Flying Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A crackling sound, the sawdust exploded and exploded. Gong Xiu opened her eyes, and the flames warmed her soaked body. A young man in a green shirt sat cross-legged by the fire, his long sword slanted at his waist, and his wooden stick pierced through the fish body in his hand. It was grilled on the fire, flipped over from time to time, and the oil fell to the ground. The golden fish meat sizzled and the fragrance spread everywhere. Golem Gong Tsayu's face turned red as she was about to say something when she handed the grilled fish to her. There's no salt or seasoning, that's all we can do. The taste should still be palatable, Jiangding said lightly, confident in his culinary skills. Gong Tsayu hesitated for a moment and said, "Young master, wait a moment." She stood up and walked towards the river, at a distance of at least a kilometer. Loose clothes and wash up. Jiangding bid farewell to the drone's field of view. When we saw her again, she was a girl with snow-white skin and a white skirt that fluttered like a fairy. Her hair was black and shiny, hanging down to her waist. Although the white skirt had some damage, it was as white as snow, and there was no trace of dirt. Internal strength. Is there so much left? Jiangding's secret passage. Although she feels weaker, she should be able to flash kill now. Thank you very much, young master. Gong Tsayu carefully took the wooden handle that Jiangding had not touched before, and then used her internal strength to cut through all the places that Jiangding had touched. She scraped off a thin layer of fish and meat, and placed it next to the tempering pile for a slight grilling. Jiangding. Are you so rich in internal strength? Even my sister has never despised me so much. Gong Tsayu nibbled lightly on the fish, which was indeed golden and crispy, with a lingering fragrance on her lips and teeth. Perhaps due to her hunger, she felt even more delicious than the signature dishes of Mangxianglu in the city of Donglingfu. The children of the martial arts world are not so particular, looking at the small mouth, but after a while, the whole fish is only left with fish bones. After being empty for several days, my stomach finally felt full. This. Jiangding handed a bamboo tube of water with a burnt black skin, waited for the other person to scrape off the contact part, finished drinking it, and carefully went to the river to clean the corners of his mouth and hands. After slightly combing, he said. When I was young, I was taught by a hermit and had no contact with the outside world for many years. Would you be willing to introduce me to someone, Miss Gong, to avoid offending others and losing my life in the martial arts world without my knowledge in the future? Gong Tsayu's face turned white. Don't worry, young master, she said with a resolute expression on her face. Even if I am powerless to be captured, I will immediately cut myself off and I will not let the Golden Blade sect implicate young master. The Golden Blade Gate. In the world of you, there are 3 sects, 6 sects, and 8 heroes. Gong Tsayu explained, for hundreds of years, the Qingyo Palace, Wolf God Sect, and Prajnaparamita Temple of the 3 sects have each had their own unique skills, reaching the pinnacle of the martial arts world. Throughout history, there have been innate masters suppressing them. Below are the 6 major sects, and there have been generations of innate experts who have never ceased to emerge. The Golden Blade sect is like this. Gong Tsayu paused word by word and said in a resentful voice, Master of the Golden Blade sect, the ancestor of the Golden Blade, Wei Tu Nan, has achieved innate accomplishments for decades and is famous in the martial arts world. The last 8 heroes are numerous scattered individuals and heroic heroes sent by small sections. In terms of strength, they are not inferior to the leaders of the 6 major sects, but they cannot be inherited from generation to generation. How strong is the court? Jiangding pondered for a moment and asked. I don't know, Tianji Tower will actively cover up the intelligence of contemporary dynasties' experts, but it should not be weak, Gong Tsayu said. Hundreds of years ago, Emperor Taizu of Yu and his 12 generals of Tianyun swept the rivers and lakes, attacking and destroying the imperial family of the previous dynasty. His 12 beloved generals turned into 12 aristocratic families to suppress various places. For example, the Dongling prefecture where we are located is guarded by the Tang family, the Marquis of Jiangding. According to the historical records of various dynasties in the sect's library, it can be inferred that this bloodline family, which does not accept outsiders, may not have much strength left after centuries of wealth erosion, but it is also uncertain when a genius will emerge. I see. I heard before that the girl seemed to be the 98th on the Dragon and Phoenix list, with the number Flying Snow Fairy. Jiangding lightly stroked the sword handle, innate, which actually corresponds to the Qi cultivation realm of the cultivator. In theory, innate martial artists can also engage in several moves with Qi cultivation cultivators of the same level. As long as they are not separated, they can actually make a difference. It's just young martial artists under the age of 25 discharged from the Tianji Tower. Gong Xiaoyu smiled sadly. Some illusions, even if they are ranked first on the Dragon and Phoenix ranking, cannot compete with old innate experts. Jiangding remained silent. Judging from the age of the other party, who was only 17 or 18 years old, he had already experienced the situation of his father being killed and his mother being abducted, and the entire sect dying. This is in Xianmen, still an underage child about to go to college. Young master, don't worry. Gong Xiaoyu restrained her sorrowful expression and smiled calmly. Wei too is getting old. Sooner or later, I will be able to destroy his sect and slaughter his clan. Now, I dare not disturb you again, young master. I will bid farewell now. She stood up, her white dress unfolded from the ground up, and a thread-bound ancient book flew backwards. The kindness of saving lives cannot be repaid. Although no one has practiced the divine sky 100 steps flying sword passed down by our ancestor 1,000 years ago, it can also be briefly referenced. Her melancholic voice came from afar. 1,000 years ago, when our ancestors were present, they were also the largest sect in the Yu state. Jiangding gently drew his sword and pressed its face against the flying ancient book. There wasn't much force, and there weren't any foreign objects flying out. The other party should be kind-hearted. However, it shouldn't be of much use. All knowledge sharing in the Immortal sect is limited by one's own qualifications and abilities, and there has never been a situation where divine arts and unparalleled skills cannot be achieved. I casually planed a wooden box and picked out the ancient books through a long sword to seal them. Drones monitored the 4 fields, and after Gong Xiaoyu left, everything calmed down. There were no black-clad men returning, and Jiangding continued his mission of digging specimens. After school, Jiangding retrieved the package and brought home a small cage containing 2 hamsters and a small package of rat food. Jiang Yuan continued to watch cartoons as usual, and to his surprise, his mother Lin Wanxiu was also busy in the kitchen. Ah! Brother! Is this for me? Jiang Yuan accidentally glanced and jumped over excitedly. Based on her life experience from childhood to adulthood, Jiangding has never been interested in animals such as small goldfish and turtles, except for kendo tutoring classes. No, it's not. Jiangding coldly refused. Impossible. This is mine. Jiang Yuan didn't believe it and said loudly, if you don't give it to me, when my uncle and aunt come, I'll tell my uncle that you're bullying me. That also requires my uncle's trust. Jiangding suddenly understood why Lin Wanxiu left work early and was busy in the kitchen. Uncle Lin Yong works as a teacher at Rongcheng 7th Primary School. Although his income is not as good as Lin Wanxiu's, he is relatively more leisurely. His cousin Lin Yuanwang is also a prominent figure in the family. He was admitted to the Department of Taoism at Xianling University last year. It would be great if brother Yuanwang also came, Jiang Yuan said discontentedly. I'll have brother Yuanwang beat you up then. Humph. Jiangding had some appetite and walked towards his room. When he was a child, Lin Yuanwang relied on his height and physique to bully him a lot. The key is that this kid is the 4 spirit roots. When he graduated from high school in the 3rd year, he was only practicing Qi at the 5th level, and he really couldn't beat him. Putting down his backpack, Jiangding pulled out a rough wooden box from under the bed, and the faint fragrance of the original wood was scattered everywhere. Opening it, it is naturally an ancient book given by Gong Xiaoyu, with a special material. It is said to have been around for thousands of years and there are no signs of decay, so it can still be read normally. Squeak. Sprinkle some rat food and Jiangding throws 2 hamsters in. 2 hamsters panicked and ran around, but were blocked by a small wall surrounded by several stacks of books. After waiting for a while, they finally started eating rat food. It's okay, at least it's not an acute toxin. Jiang calmed down a bit and even saw a hamster add a few book covers. Nothing happened. I went to the kitchen to pick up a pair of chopsticks, flipped through the book page by page, and threw 2 grains of rat food into each page. It took me over half an hour, and Jiangding was finally completely sure that there was no problem with this book. That girl is kind-hearted. Jiangding breathed a sigh of relief and opened the transparent gloves he ordered yesterday for express delivery, wearing them in his hand. This is what he thought yesterday. It's inevitable to come into contact with foreign objects in a different world. A pair of lightweight, breathable, and imperceptible transparent gloves would be perfect. The ancient books have a thick texture, seemingly made of some kind of animal skin, with a faint book fragrance. Can a warrior also wield a flying sword in the game? Xianxia 100 Steps Flying Sword. Jiangding gently stroked the 6 unfamiliar square characters on the cover, feeling slightly excited, and then pressed them down. You need to learn the characters of that world, but you cannot casually learn techniques that have not been verified by the Xianmen library, which is very dangerous. Thinking of something, Jiangding opened the computer in the room, logged into the Xianmen library, and searched for the 100-step flying sword warrior. Rows of information with lower levels of confidentiality that can be accessed online have emerged. Song's 100-step flying sword, blood refining 100-step flying sword, Cangshu Xiaojie Yunling 100-step flying sword, fire refining 100-step flying sword. As Jiangding had imagined, the Immortal library, Paul Wanxiang, even though the knowledge of mortal envoys flying swords sounds magical and extremely obscure, still has a large amount of search. This is not just a rumor or miscellaneous study. Since it has been included in the Immortal sect library, it means that these martial arts can theoretically be practiced and can be connected to achieve the desired goals. Click on Song's 100 Steps Flying Sword with the mouse. With a click, a box popped out. The knowledge you are accessing is dangerous and minors are not allowed to access it. If you need to access it again, please authorize your guardian. Jiang was determined. He closed the box at www.zhaoshuyuan.com and clicked on the Spiritual 100-Step Flying Sword in the small world of Cangshu. The box revealed the same information. Trying again, I found that all of the 100 Steps Flying Sword have such limitations, and there is no exception to hundreds or thousands of sets of techniques. The cultivation of a warrior's 100 Steps Flying Sword is very dangerous. Jiangding ran is clear. Apart from danger, the power is just like that. It looks magical, but a heavy machine gun can easily shatter from 1,000 steps away, which is not worth the loss for people in the Immortal sect. But I really want it. With a sigh, Jiangding put the ancient books back in the drawer, carried the hamster cage and rat food out of the room, and handed them to Jiang Yuan. I'll give it to you, but you have to take care of it. Ah, my dear brother. Jiang Yuan jumped up in place and agreed with a full mouth. Jiangding ignored her and turned to the kitchen to help. Ding ding, help me cut shredded potatoes and radish, and a handful of scallions, Lin Wanqiu ordered as Jiangding walked in. Good resounding drawing the sword, the cold light shone on the kitchen, and then taking a piece of cloth to wet, the sword body was carefully cleaned. In fact, Jiangding didn't want to do this. He confirmed that his sword was very clean, and even blood and sweat would be shaken away by chance. There was no need to do anything unnecessary. Unfortunately, Lin Wanqiu and Jiang Yuan do not think so. Exhibition sword style. Arm sword style. Point the sword. Sword light flickered, carrots and white radishes flew away, and then white radishes fell one by one. Potato shreds were stacked layer by layer, and scallions fell, forming a fist-sized hill. You. Lin Wanqiu stopped and looked at her kitchen filled with flashing sword lights, feeling extremely helpless. Chapter 10. Uncle. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding Ding has grown taller again. Yuan, you're gaining weight again. Uncle Lin Yong and Aunt teased each other, causing Jiang Yuan to resist in dissatisfaction. The family's dining table was filled with beverages such as Sprite and orange juice. Except for the brief period of time living with Jiang's father, Lin Wanqiu and his family have not been fond of alcohol since their grandparents. With a smile on his face, Lin Yong asked, Ding Ding, how have you been doing lately? Jiangding didn't feel disgusted even after hearing it. Uncle Lin Yong has a square appearance and a tall figure. Due to his profession as a teacher, he is very understanding of some of the awkward thoughts of middle and high school teenagers and provides appropriate listening and patience, making him very popular. It's still the same as before. Jiangding said honestly, I have a high score in ideology and morality, but I feel that I can still make progress. I have some confidence in approaching the full score, but for other cultural courses such as mathematics, physics, geography, etc., I have made little progress. In the cultivation class, within a few months at most, one can advance to the inner Qi realm. He has no plans to talk to his family about things in a different world for the time being. It is not wrong that Xianmen is a rule of law society, and it is also true that there are various spiritual formations and computers constantly monitoring in urban public areas. In history, high-level cultivators who have seriously violated criminal law have been punished or even executed quickly, which is extremely reliable. However, if the benefits are significant enough, there are also people who take risks. The Immortal sect is not the demon sect. What are the prohibitions that can directly cause death to people? Therefore, if one less person knows, there is one less risk of exposure. Are you confident in approaching the perfect score for ideological and moral character? Lin Yong was stunned and knew that this nephew was not bragging. He knows the importance of approaching full marks in ideological and moral character. This means that extreme recognition of the ideological system of the Immortal sect, at least in society and the central array of spiritual computers, can easily occupy the political high ground of the Immortal sect. Whether it is work or study opportunities, any achievement gap that is not significant will attract criticism if the upper-ups do not choose Jiangding. Do you not support the Immortal sect enough and have other thoughts? Alas, it's a pity. Lin Yong sighed again. His score in the cultural class was a bit low, and his practice class was considered good, but obviously he couldn't make up for the big hole in the cultural class. Wow, Jiangding, you'll soon be able to cut a whole shredded potato with just one sword, Jiang Yuan exclaimed and focused on another direction. Lin Wanqiu lightly patted her, indicating not to disturb the conversation between adults. Sister, there's something you need to consider. Lin Yong pondered for a moment and said, you know, Yuanying has basically settled down at Qianling University. Yesterday, he told me that there is an opportunity in the department to exchange the blue and white foundation spirit pill, and he has also earned some spirit coins to make up for it. In addition, he still needs 200,000 ordinary coins to be exchanged for fixed use. What do you think? If there are not enough coins, I can still borrow some here. There are two types of Xianmen currency, spiritual currency and ordinary currency. The difference is very simple. Any goods that involve the labor and spiritual materials of cultivators must be settled with spiritual coins. On the contrary, goods that involve human labor and materials must be settled with mortal coins. Many products usually require both. The Xianmen industry is highly developed, and many refining, alchemy, cultivation, talismanship, and other processes involve a large number of mortals and Xiandao industrial machines for preliminary processing. For example, at the Rongcheng iron and steel plant where Lin Wanqiu is located, many semi-magical tools are made by inner Qi realm warriors using optical array recording machines. Blue and white foundation spiritual pill. Lin Wanqiu was taken aback for a moment and asked urgently, but the blue and white foundation spiritual pill that can enhance the martial artist's qualifications without damage. There are many spiritual pills and medicines on the market in Xianmen, but once you take some tiger and wolf powerful medicines that damage your foundation, even if your cultivation level is high and your grades are good, you will not be accepted by the cultivation department. Lin Yong said with some pride, "Yes, sister, it's the blue and white Yunji Ling Dan." My aunt felt a bit uncomfortable in her heart, but she didn't stop her husband. "This pill is too precious." Lin Wanxiu hesitated a bit and said, Yuanying's qualifications are much better than what was predetermined, and his future achievements are also good. If it delays his cultivation. Don't worry, sister. Lin Yong waved his hand and said, Yuanying is from the Department of Cultivation at Xianling University. This spiritual coin is nothing to him, and it's his cousin. Can you help me out? He brought it up himself, otherwise how would we know about these things? At the end, his face also showed a smile, feeling greatly relieved. Yes, sister. Auntie also chimed in, you and Lin Yong are siblings, so don't be polite about this. That. Thank you too much. Lin Wanxiu nodded hesitantly and said, I still have some savings left. I'll transfer them to you tomorrow. Sigh, thank you very much for looking far away. Farewell my uncle's family. Lin Wanxiu sighed and said, my younger brother is still reliable. Mom, do we have enough money? Jiangding asked, perhaps we should accelerate the exploration speed of the other world and at least obtain some money. It's similar, but we need to be frugal in the coming period. Lin Wanxiu sighed. For her, wearing can save time, using can save time, but eating cannot be tolerated. I have some savings. Jiang Yuan hesitated for a while, raised his hand patiently, and his small face was wrinkled into a fried dough twists. Okay. In the future, you will be responsible for paying for groceries. Jiangding and Lin Wanxiu spoke in unison. Jiang Yuan has a mournful face. After the family tidied up the table, cleaned the house, and threw away the garbage, Jiangding returned to his room. Wear equipment and open your eyes. The mountains are vast, and the wind blows, creating a green wave. The traces of yesterday's bonfire can still be seen through drones. After hesitating for a moment by pressing his sword in place, Jiangding walked up the path and headed towards the direction outside the mountain. A few hours later, the mountain path gradually opened up, and the occasional grass growing on the road disappeared. Pedestrians gradually came and went, mostly farmers who were cutting grass and firewood in the countryside. Seeing Jiangding, a young man dressed in a green shirt and wearing a long sword around his waist, everyone avoided and no one approached. Jiangding's expression moved slightly. In the perspective of the drone, there are people fighting on the main road several hundred meters away from here, and those who see blood occasionally fall down. Zoom in, there are over 10 donkey carts and more than 10 people on one side, loaded with goods, relying on the vehicles to resist the siege of dozens of masked people. Not far behind these masked people is a tiger skin flag several meters high, imposing. It seems that there are more people besieging and fewer people, but the situation is not one-sided. Everything is because this caravan has an inner energy realm warrior with a section of life breath strength Shaogong Saiyu, and the other companions are also considered capable. Among those masked people, there is also an inner chi realm. Except for a few, most of the others have tattered clothes and their combat effectiveness is worrying. Only some are blood brave, but there are enough people. Under the siege, the caravan attendants were constantly injured and killed, and the inner chi realm steward also had multiple injuries on his body. He had no hope of escaping and his face was full of despair. Jiangding was surprised and said, how could there really be a martial artist in the inner chi realm who is even weaker than Gong Saiyu? A few steps to the edge of the battlefield, Jiangding pressed his sword and remained motionless, with a faint roar coming. Who are you, daring to snatch goods from my Four Seas Chamber of Commerce? Hero. Our Four Seas Chamber of Commerce has business all over Vietnam and has always been friendly and prosperous. We have many friendships with friends on the road. Is there any misunderstanding here? A group of masked people didn't answer, but instead resorted to even more aggressive actions. Especially the masked martial artist in the inner Qi realm, wielding an iron spear that was both heavy and fierce, accidentally punctured a fist-sized blood hole in the person's body. What person? Jiangding was mesmerized by the play when he heard a loud roar in his ear. Shoo! The loud cheers were not a reminder. With the help of the sound, 2 crossbows and arrows pierced through the air, and then 3 tall and strong masked men with long spears rushed towards them in the shape of pinyin, well-trained. Kang! Draw your sword, show your sword. A snowy and bright arc slanted, bouncing open 2 powerful crossbow arrows, and the long sword pointed diagonally at the ground. I'm just passing by. Jiangding looked at the 3 people rushing towards him, and a bloodthirsty desire quietly grew in his heart. Die. 3 mountain bandits stabbed their throats, chest, and abdomen with 3 long spears in no particular order, like a giant with 3 heads and 6 arms striking at the same time. Most importantly, they did not feel the unique internal energy aura of the martial artists in the inner Qi realm. Frequently killing. Jiangding frowned and didn't really like this social atmosphere. Take a diagonal step and easily avoid being surrounded by 3 people. With a single sword, he opened the last spear that still pierced his chest, and then suddenly took a step forward, almost touching the corner of the masked man's clothes. Step sword style. The tip of the sword slanted across, and the masked man looked at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com with a frightened expression. Before the 2 aging spears could turn around, he swung his sword horizontally again. The sword sheathed, and Jiangding too walked towards the center of the battlefield without turning back. Coincidentally, he realized that even if he tried to cover it up alone, it would be too abrupt and conspicuous. He wanted to find some fellow travelers to enter the city together, and the people in front of him were just right. Behind him, the 3 masked men were stiff and fell down softly. The gun head hit the ground with a clanging sound. 3 almost identical blood stains appeared in the throat. A large stream of blood was flowing out and quickly soaked the ground. Along the way, someone happened to block it, and a sword flashed by. The obstacle dissipated on its own, and several people surrounded it, leaving only 1 wound. Someone evaded and ignored, just walking straight ahead. Who are you? Quickly, the situation here caught the attention of the bandit leader, who shot back the leader of the caravan and shouted, "The Tiger Stronghold is in charge of business. Idle people should retreat." Jiangding ignored him, and wherever the long sword went, blood splattered everywhere, leaving the bandits powerless to fall to the ground. If it were any army or sect, he would definitely seriously consider advancing or retreating, and the seemingly inconspicuous name of the Tiger Stronghold would not interrupt his plan. Ghosts. The mountain bandits fell one by one, without any fighting power. Soon, their morale was half shattered, but the leader was still there, and countless gazes were fixed on this side. It's all throat-sealing. The bandit leader looked at the corpse on the ground and felt a chill in his heart. This is something he can't even do. Jiangding's surroundings were empty, and no one dared to step forward. He shook off the bloodstains on his sword and turned his gaze to the martial artist in the inner Qi realm who was holding an iron gun. The wind is tight. Pull it out. The bandit leader did not turn back, and the bandits around were scattered like birds and beasts.